if you want to really listen to what we're saying or read what we're saying when we're not on air, then the place to do that really is the news outlet. It's called Essential Reading online, and I will give you the website for that now. It is www.essentialreading.freecluster.eu. That's essentialreading.freecluster, FREE cluster, CLUSTER.EU. So why not go and check that out?
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
If you want to really listen to what we're saying or read what we're saying when we're not on air, then the place to do that really is the news outlet. It's called Essential Reading online, and I will give you the website for that now. It is www.essentialreading.freecluster.eu. That's essentialreading.freecluster, FREE cluster, CLUSTER.EU. So why not go and check that out? Press one more time. Info at Reprieve Media CIC.epeasy.com, and we will hopefully be able to, well, we will certainly be able to facilitate that as well.
It's a Tuesday night, I can't be with the people I love tonight. They left me all alone and I can't forgive them. I guess I'll be on my own. I tried to see it that way, I tried to be alone, I tried to do my own thing, but the trouble with your own thing is you end up on your own. It's a Tuesday night and again I seem to be on my own for the second night in a row. The simple lesson here is to try to find a friend, to try to find a friend, to try to find a friend. Can you hear
Hello and welcome to Reprieve Media CIC's coverage of UNESCO World Radio Day. We've been involved with World Radio broadcasts before in our other various roles, so with it coming up this year we thought we'd cobble together a few hours of content for you. But first, we think it's important that we hear the ethos behind World Radio Day from the creators UNESCO. And this is Audrey Azoulay. She is the Director General of UNESCO and a former French Culture Minister. We've had a little look. We couldn't help ourselves. She's not on the Council of the European Council on Foreign Relations, and nor, what we can see, is she a Council on Foreign Relations member. So this is her thoughts on World Radio Day.
This year, World Radio Day celebrates radio and sports, as radio is a force to share the values at the heart of sport: fair play, teamwork, solidarity, and respect. Radio brings together people in a spirit of friendship and is on the front line in combating unacceptable racist, xenophobic, and intolerant views, whether on the playing field or on airwaves, as well as promoting equality between men and women. This is why UNESCO works tirelessly throughout the world to develop radio as an independent and pluralistic media which promotes cultural and gender diversity in sports broadcasting. Let's work together through radio to harness sport as a force for inclusion, dialogue, development and peace for all.
Interesting words there. What about the UN? What are they saying about it? Well, the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, he is a former Portuguese Prime Minister. He's released a little statement as well for the day. Before that, though, we found him quite an interesting character because he seems to be on the right track regarding the UN as far as we're concerned. We were expecting, we had a look again. Obviously, we were expecting to see him on both lists, the ECFR Council and the CFR members, but we didn't see him on any. And then we found an article on the ECFR website, which we always recommend that you take a look at. It's ecfr.eu. This article's called Lonely at the Top. And it seems not a critical article, but an open-minded article written by Richard Gowan on the 25th of July 2017. He even says there, he has repeatedly questioned whether the UN is fit for purpose, describing its peacekeeping mechanisms as underperforming and its approach to economic development as at its exhaustion point. So, interesting comments there from the Secretary General of the UN. Good on him, we say. There's nothing worse. There's nothing more better to keep the wolves at bay than criticising yourself, is there? Let's have some independent scrutiny of the UN. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So, what are his thoughts on World Radio Day?
Radio reaches the widest audience in the world. In an era of dramatic advances in communications, radio retains its power to entertain, educate, inform and inspire. It can unite and empower communities and give voice to the marginalized. This year, with the Winter Olympics now underway, we also recognize the many ways in which sports broadcasting brings people together around excitement and achievement. On World Radio Day, let us celebrate both radio and sports as ways of helping people to achieve their full potential.
So, what are we doing for World Radio Day? Well, what we've managed to club together is some source content that we found. We're going to play out again BBC Asian Network documentary, Bales, Beards and Boundaries. That's looking at the 3 Asian cricketers who toured the last winter tour for England, not the one to Australia and New Zealand, which is currently happening, the one to Bangladesh and India last year. We have also managed to find a copy of the tribute that BBC 5 Live did for Jimmy Armfield. Straight away we thought radio and sport. I myself personally remember growing up and listening to many sporting football commentary on the radio, summarised by Jimmy Armfield. Obviously, he was a bit older than me, so I didn't really know much about him as a player. Unfortunately, Jimmy passed away not so long ago, so we're going to play what we consider to be a brilliant tribute to him, put together by BBC 5 Live. We've also managed to secure an interview with a local fundraiser, Daniel Selcraig. He is doing a charity skydive on behalf of Thorpe Road Hospice here in Peterborough. He also doubles in his day job as the groundsman for Peterborough United. So we felt he was in a perfect position just to give us a quick overview of the great work that Peterborough United does to help the community as well regarding its work for charity and things like that. So we touched on that a little bit as well. We're also going to take a look at an organisation that seems to have managed to place itself as the fulcrum of helping people with all types of disabilities get involved in sport here in Peterborough. The charity is called Inspire Peterborough. We're going to have a look at the organisation. We're going to have a look at an event that they've got coming up. And we're just going to have a look at some of the organisations that they work with as well. We've also managed to find an interview carried out by UNESCO, so we thank them for that. They spoke to a guest from Pakistan, a sports broadcaster, Fazeela Saba, on her experiences of working in radio broadcasting in a field really dominated, they think, by men. And we don't necessarily agree with that. We listen to a lot of radio ourselves, and we hear plenty of female voices on sports phone-ins, presenting, so they're obviously trying to push that agenda, so that's up to them, isn't it? She works for PTV Sports, which is a public broadcaster in Pakistan, and she also works for a radio station, Suno FM, so we're going to play that as well. We're going to get cracking soon, but first, before we do, here is a musical interlude. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
Suburban walls. The enemy is not some nation far across the sea. The enemy is with us every single breathing day. So yes, I will fight for my country, the land that I love so well. Yes, for justice, a land fit for all our futures. Yes, I will fight for my country, the land that I love so well. Hear the voices of our history echo all around. Fight all the ones who divide us, rich against poor. Fight all the ones who divide us, white against black. Fight all the powers who want their missiles in our earth. Fight all the people who would lead us into war. And yes, I will fight for my country, the land that I love so well. Yes, for justice, a land fit for all our futures. Yes, I will fight for my country, the land that I love so well. Hear the voices of our history echo all around. No rights were ever given to us by the grace of God. No rights were ever given by some United Nations clause. No rights were ever given by some nice guy at the top. Our rights, they were bought by all the blood and all the tears of all our grandmothers, grandfathers before. Gave their lives for us. For all the folk who spit out, never say die. For all the fires burning on our highest hills. For all the people spinning trails tonight. Fight all the powers who abuse our common laws. Fight all the powers who think they only owe themselves country, a land that I love so well. Hear the voices of our history echo all around. Yes, I will fight for my country, a land that I love so well. Fight for justice, a land fit for all our futures. Yes, I will fight for my country, a land that I love so well. And yes, I will fight for my country, a land that I love so well.
We're in a position now to say to anybody out there who may be listening, or anybody who knows anybody that is into this sort of thing, send us your shows. Send us a 30-minute show or a 30-minute show reel or something like that of what you propose to do. If we at Reprieve Media CIC were to give you free airtime, and we will consider it. You know, we will move forward with a view to maybe putting you on air. They can be any shows you wish to send us, talk shows, music shows, a mixture of the both, entertainment shows, sports shows, movie review shows, anything you'd like to do really. Just send us a copy of what you've done so far, or something you think shines a good light on yourself, and we will consider it and maybe book you and maybe put you on air. You can be making your own original content. Unfortunately, we have no live facilities at the moment, so all you will need to have fully recording facilities of your own, and then just send us the final copy of the show and we will play it out. Until we get a premises, we're not really in a position, well, it's not really about it, we are not in a position to offer live shows as of yet. If you'd like to send us some of your work for us to listen to and see if we can maybe get you on air sometime, then send the show to the usual place. It's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. That again is info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. 30 minutes maximum the show must be, and we will look maybe at putting you on air in the future, and you too will be able to get involved with Reprieve Media CIC.
This message isn't aimed at you. You know that on a motorway, a red X above any lane means that you can't drive in it and could be prosecuted if you do. But apparently, there are some drivers who don't realise this and are a danger to themselves and to other road users. So those drivers do need to know that a red X above any lane means that the lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, emergency services or road workers. For more details, they should search online for smart motorways and never drive in any lane with a red X above it.
If you're a logo designer, if you'd like to get some web presence with any of your designs, unfortunately we've got no budget whatsoever, so this will be only on a strictly voluntary basis. Just design us a logo, design Reprieve Media CIC a logo, and we will use it on all three of our sites. Just to get your name out there, you can copyright your logo. We're not looking to take your logo off you or say that we did it or anything. We will promote you through your logo on our website. People will know it's you. People will click on it and it will say it's you, give you an article to promote yourself, things like that. So any prospective logo designer, get in touch at info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. www.epizy.com. Hello and welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC on this World Radio Day, radio and sport. What we've got coming up for you now is an interview with a local fundraiser by the name of Daniel Selcraig. He's coming up now. We should have him with the miracles of technology on the line now. Daniel, are you there?
Yeah, good evening, Paul.
Superb. It's always good when the technology works in our favour. Welcome to the show, Daniel. So if you could quickly just tell us a bit, if you could, of the surroundings regarding your decision to raise this fund.
Well, it was just after Christmas. I was scrolling through my phone on Facebook, and tragically I saw that my local hospice, which is Fort Paul, which is run by Sue Ryder, on Christmas Day had a donation tin stolen off reception. The doors were left open so a family could visit a dying relative, and someone's took advantage of that and disgracefully stolen which kind, honest-hearted people had donated money to a really good charity.
Yeah, I saw that myself, the donation tin being unfortunately stolen at Sue Ryder. Very unfortunate event, I'm sure everyone will agree. So these events, as you say, you sound like an experienced fundraiser. So what other fundraising have you done in your life so far?
When I was at college, we walked the Pennine Way, which is over 200 miles from Derbyshire up to the border of Scotland. We did that for the Help for Heroes charity. We raised several £1,000s for them. But once I'd read this story about this donation tin being stolen, I just couldn't get it out of my mind, and I just had to do something for them to try and recover some of the money. So obviously you're well inclined to start raising charitable donations like that. So congratulations for that, and thank you for that. All the great work you've done, and the money you've raised really does go to great causes. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to talk a bit about the surroundings of the actual Sue Ryder event. What was your thinking around that time? So when I heard, obviously, about the tragic event that happened, I took a couple of days to register, and then I thought, I need to do something for them. I want to get some money back to the charity. For some strange reason, I ended up thinking of doing a skydive, and that evening I decided, to set up Just Giving page, and within 24, 48 hours, I'd had over £200 on it already. Friends and family really got behind me and thought, it was a cracking idea. Local media helped as well. I had an interview on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. And, even companies like yourself, have been really helpful to me getting the story out there and giving me some media coverage.
I also understand you've had a fair bit of help from the local professional football team, Peterborough United.
So Peterborough United have been brilliant. They've let us put some donation buckets, on all the food outlets. And just want to say a big thank you to all the Peterborough United fans for putting money in nearly every game. I've not worked out how much Peterborough United fans, themselves have donated towards it, but the vast majority of the donations is from Posh fans. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to them. The club have been absolutely fantastic and really supportive.
And I also understand that there is a reason we're talking about Peterborough United here, and that is in fact that you are the head groundsman at Peterborough United, I understand.
Yeah, so I look after the pitch at the ABAC Stadium, or London Road as the Posh fans know it. Yes, that's my responsibility to keep it in tip-top condition throughout the season.
Oh, brilliant. How long have you done that for?
I've been at the stadium now 3 years. I started off down the training ground, looking after the facilities down there on Oundle Road. Then I moved up
to the stadium soon after, and have looked after the pitch ever since.
And as well as how brilliant they've been regarding assisting you with this event so far, they also do a lot of other work with other charities, don't they?
Oh, it's brilliant. Every game, every home match, there's always a different charity at the stadium. Bucket collections. The club really support the Free Kicks Foundation. So the game before last, the Posh changed their home kit from the Mick George logo to the Free Kicks charity logo, and the shirts have been auctioned off, and they've raised over £4,500 for the Free Kicks charity, which gives youngsters the chance to be mascots, who come from an unprivileged background, which is fantastic to see, especially working on a match day, being on the pitch, to see the youngsters enjoying what's such a memorable day out. The club are fantastic at supporting charities.
I was always wondering, really. For my sins, I've followed Posh for a few years, on and off mainly in the last few years, but I've always wondered, I've always looked at the state of the pitch in certain seasons gone by, and thought towards the end of the season it looked more tired in relation to other teams in the league. But in the last 4 or 5 years, it does look, from an outside perspective, mainly watching it on the telly, I must admit, that it looks much better. Why do you think that is? What is the club doing so different?
Obviously, advances in technology. We know a lot more, as stupid as it sounds, about grass these days. Back in the day, it was chuck sand on it, roll the sand in. Nowadays, that's a big no-no. The club invested heavily a number of years ago on new drainage. So the pitch is a completely different construction to what it was, which obviously helps massively. But yeah, it's, just about being a groundsman, just about doing the right things at the right time. The weather recently has been really wet, but over the last couple of years, it's been pretty good to us, which does help. I mean, it's not nice having games being played when it's absolutely chucking it down with rain, or it's been frosty and you have to scrape ice off the pitch. But
yeah, it's quite an open old ground, London Road. It can be quite difficult to maintain in the winter, can't it?
No, the wind does swirl around in there. I mean, last season I was, before I think it was the Scunthorpe game, I was in most of the night forking water away off the pitch, and it's quite an eerie place at night time when you're in there by yourself. But no, luckily this season, the weather up to now has not been too bad. Quite wet, but I think the pitch has held up brilliantly.
Yeah, and especially in modern era, you could say, there's pressure as well from external sources really as well. Some people might say that pop concerts might not be conducive to having a best possible surface for the team to play on.
A lot of fans, have made this point to me, the concerts, it must be an absolute nightmare. But I completely understand why the club do it. I mean, football now is very, commercialised. Clubs need to make as much revenue throughout the course of the year, not just the season. The stadium costs a lot to run. You can't just play, your 20 odd games there. You need to keep using it. So the concerts, as far as I'm concerned, are a great thing. The Elton John concert last year, it did cause a bit of damage to the pitch, but I did manage to rectify that. And yeah, as fans can see now, the pitch isn't too much further behind than what it was last season, which is phenomenal.
No, credit where it's due. The pitch is looking great. Everybody there, yourself mainly, and everybody else around your team is doing a great job with the pitch, and that can't be questioned really, especially when people look at how it used to be. We're going to have a little break now. One thing I do like to do, Daniel, is allow my guest to pick a quick musical interlude to allow us both to get our breath back. So, Daniel, what track would you like to hear today?
Please, could I have Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, What a Life?
Well, I don't see why not.
Someday you might find your hero.
Hello and welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC for our coverage of World Radio Day, Sport and Radio. We should still have Daniel Selcraig on the line. Daniel, are you still there, sir?
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Still here.
Ah, jolly good. The mystery, the wonders of modern technology again come to our favour. So, Daniel, we've talked a bit about your career already with Peterborough United and the fundraising events that you've done throughout your life. If you don't mind now, I'd like to ask you a few questions about this current event, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You touched on earlier the motivation behind the event and what the event was itself. In case you didn't hear that, it's a skydive in aid of Sue Ryder Fork Road Hospice after their donation box was unfortunately stolen over the Christmas period. So, Daniel, where and when can people see you throw yourself out of a plane voluntarily?
So the skydive will be taking place on Monday the 7th of May. It's going to be at Sibson Airfield in Peterborough. You know, a lot of my family and friends are going to come down and watch me. But yeah, I'm going to be getting it filmed and pictures taken as well. So there will be content posted after the skydive online for anyone who wants to watch me jump out of the plane.
Yeah, I mean, I must commend you again on the bravery. I, for one, I can't think of any situation where I would do that. So all credit to you. You've already said that the campaign is up and running and has been for quite a while. So where can people support you currently?
People can support us by, they can go on my Just Giving page, which is www.justgiving.com/Sue Ryder Skydive 2018. Any people who go to the Posh home games, there's always Sue Ryder donation buckets on all of the food kiosks around the stadium. Or you can put money in an envelope with my name on, Daniel Selcraig, and hand it into main reception at the football club. And all the money raised will be going onto my Just Giving page, so everyone can see, you know, where the money's going, and it will also give me a grand total at the end. Just so I can add, I've personally paid for the skydive, so every penny raised will go to Sue Ryder, because I paid for the jump. So no money's going to be going from the fundraising to pay for the skydive. That's already been paid completely. So yeah, I'd just like to thank anyone who has already donated. And if there is anyone out there that could help me, I'd much appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And yes, I would certainly encourage everybody to donate to such a great cause. I also understand, obviously, times are hard for people. We all know that. We're not here to talk about that today. So you've come up with a couple of what I think is very ingenious ways of encouraging people to donate to your campaign. Would you like to tell us about them, please?
Yeah, sure. So over the next couple of weeks, couple of months, been speaking to my pals at the club. Marcus Madison's going to donate a pair of his boots and he's going to sign them for us. We're going to get some signed shirts out there. And just as a personal thank you, anyone who donates online will be entered into a draw to win a complete year of free garden upkeep. So it involves grass cutting, absolutely anything in your garden you want doing. I'll personally look after your garden for a year for absolute nothing as a personal thank you to everyone who's helped support me. There are a few terms and conditions to that. Obviously, if you've got a golf course, I won't be looking after it. And also, you know, people who have donated more will be entered into the draw more times than obviously someone who's only donated a couple of pound. But obviously all the terms and conditions and that are on the Just Giving page.
Great gesture. I have to say, that's very good. So hopefully that will certainly encourage people to donate more money. As you know, obviously with modern fundraising as well, it's not just the actual day of the event where the money is raised, it's the build-up. It reaches the crescendo with the final event. So obviously people will want to keep up with your progress up to now until May. So where can people follow you if they'd like to do that on social media?
Yeah, it's obviously been fundraising now since the start of January. I wanted to start early, so it gave me as much time as possible to raise as much money as I could. People can follow the progress if they go onto the Just Giving page. Again, it's www.justgiving.com/Sue Ryder Skydive 2018. They can follow all the updates on there. They can also follow my Facebook page, Daniel Selcraig, and I'm also on Instagram at Daniel Selcraig, and on Twitter at Posh Car Share. All updates across all the platforms. I update them with any big news that I think people would be interested in. But yeah, mostly the Just Giving page, is the one that gets the most updates.
Yeah, and I can see from myself on social media that there's definitely a lot going on there. So I would encourage everyone to follow as well. I know personally you've been surprised really with the amount of support you've had and just how this campaign seems to be resonating with people.
People have been brilliant. Even like yourself, Paul, having me on the show, being able to get the story out there is fantastic. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire had me on their breakfast show back in January. I'd also like to thank magazine, which is the free magazine in Peterborough. A big thank you to Mark Hernandez, who's wrote a brilliant article in there about the skydive and what we're hoping to do. I'd like to as well just say a massive thank you, to over 50 people who have donated. I'm now over £900, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it's a big thank you to anyone who has donated. And yeah, it's just a shout out to all my family and friends who have supported me and who'll be there on the day to support me too. And if anyone who is listening can help me, then I'd really appreciate your support.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will continue all the way up to May as well. So Daniel, may I also just take this opportunity to wish you good luck with the event and the preparation as well. And I hope it all goes well for you.
Thank you ever so much, Paul. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we'll obviously keep an eye on your social media channel ourselves to keep any updates. There's also the article on our news outlet, Essential Reading, regarding this as well. That's been updated, and that will be updated to reflect any further offers that sort of encourage people to donate as well, up to from now into May as well. So that will be, I imagine that will be circulating throughout the time as well. Personally, I can't see, Daniel, why we can't hook up again maybe towards the end of April, just so I can gauge your nerves, really.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully I won't have the shakes.
I'm sure you'll be fine on the day, and I'm sure that everything will go brilliantly. And more importantly, you'll raise a great amount for Sue Ryder. And thank you very much for this event and for all the ones in the past, and I'm sure ones in the future. And may I take this opportunity to wish you good luck again. And thank you very much for coming on today, and goodbye.
Thank you, Paul.
That was a local Peterborough fundraiser, Daniel Selcraig, and I don't know, I need a break after that to get some of my breath back, and then we'll crack on with our coverage of Radio Day here on Reprieve Media CIC, so stay tuned. But first, we'll have the odd musical interlude.
we're still able to offer interviews via Skype or any other video calling platforms that you try and use. We will try and accommodate you. If that is something that interests you, then please get in touch with us here at info@Reprieve Media CIC .epizy.com. We'll give you that address once more. It's info@Reprieve Media CIC.epizy.com.
That Change for Life is all about small changes to help make us and our families healthier. Like, a lot of food contains more sugar than you might think, and eating too much can make us put on weight, which may lead to heart disease, type 2 diabetes and even cancer. Making sugar swaps is a great way to stay healthy, and it's so simple. Instead of sweets, swap them for fruit. And for fizzy drinks, try no added sugar or sugar-free ones. Just check the label. It's easy to be food smart. For more help with sugar swaps, search Change for Life online.
If you want to really listen to what we're saying or read what we're saying when we're not on air, then the place to do that really is the news outlet. It's called Essential Reading online, and I will give you the website for that now. It is www.essentialreading.freecluster.eu. That's essentialreading.freecluster, FREE cluster CLUSTER.EU. So why not go and check that out? Good afternoon and welcome to Reprieve Media CIC here on World Radio Day 2018. Radio and sport. What we've got coming up for you now is some source content which we managed to find from BBC 5 Live. It's a tribute to a radio summariser. Obviously, when we thought sport and radio, we thought of this straight away. His name was Jimmy Armfield, and the amount of matches I and many other people that I know it's been discussed, where I've seen it discussed on social media, and what a great commentator everyone thought he was, and he had such a great influence on many of today's broadcasters, and the way he looked at the game was obviously different to then. The game's moved on, but he had a great career in the game. Obviously, he was a player long before I was even thought of on this earth. So I didn't really know much about him as a player, but the documentary touches a bit on that as well. Unfortunately, Jimmy passed away not so long ago. So this is a tribute that BBC 5 Live put together for him. The documentary is called Jimmy Armfield, Football Gentleman. So without further ado, this is BBC 5 Live's documentary, Jimmy Armfield, a Football Gentleman. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
There's Matthews, the man everyone, even the Bolton supporters, would love to see get a cup winner's medal.
Near the German goalmouth, left half Duncan Edwards cuts through the defence line like a knife through butter. He beats Vapers and shoots, and it's in the net. A beautiful goal.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now. It's 4. The reserves are on. There's George Easton, there's Jimmy Armfield.
The guy who takes my position, I hope he will find it a little bit smoother and everything will go well for him.
And Brendel has scored! And that was the start that Leeds United wanted!
Roberto Baggio over the bar! Well, that was incredible. But even the great players feel tension.
It's a terrific honour to be in charge of your country's football team.
With regret, the FA and Glenn Hoddle have today agreed to terminate Glenn's contract.
This is a match that's had everything. You know, it's pure theatre, really.
Tell us, first of all, you were born in Denton, Manchester. How did you end up in Blackpool?
Wartime, really. I was at school in Denton and I came home one day with a gas mask. I remember in a cardboard sort of container with like string around my neck. I can always remember it. And at the time there had been bombs in Manchester. You know, I'd seen them, none too near me. I had my mother and father talking and it didn't all go down well, I know that. And the next thing I knew, I was living in a boarding house here in Blackpool with my mother, with 2 floors up, in a room no bigger than this. And we lived in there for nearly 4 years. We just had one bed. I can see the room as if it was yesterday. We had drawers, little table of drawers, and a little sort of semi-book stand. That was it. And my mother looked after the boarding house. She helped in the cooking, and because the Air Force were billeted there. Polish Air Force. They were all going off to various venues and so on, you know, coming and staying. Some stayed with us. We stayed there till the end of the war. My father used to come over at weekends. My father was slightly too old to go in the forces, but he was the senior air raid patrol warden in that area where he was. So he had to stay there, and he was a grocer's assistant in the co-op, and he used to come at weekends whenever he could.
And what was life like for the young Jim?
The one thing people never tell you about wartime is, you know, we had no street lighting for 5 years. None at all. And of course, from sort of the end of October till February, you know, it was dark a lot of the time. So you've got to learn I had to run the streets a bit. I got into a bit of trouble. I played truant from school a few times. The school board, as they were called, I remember coming around to see my mother and asking where I was. And that's how it got discovered. It wasn't looked on very favourably because there were enough troubles around, you know, in the war and so on, without kids, you know, playing hooky. The evacuee children it was slightly different for those who were already entrenched in the school, you know. You get that even today. And so I had to learn to scrap a little bit, but I got through all right. Went to Revo school, but I managed to get 11 plus. That was the big turning point for me.
So you got 11 plus?
11 plus, yeah.
To go to a rugby school?
Well, a lot of the lads who left, or girls who left, they went to other schools. There was Blackpool Grammar School, the girls went to collegiate and schools like that. My father said, no, you're going to Arnold School. And the reason he said that was because he knew 2 people in Denton who ran a hat factory. Denton is where all the hats were made. They sent their 2 sons as boarders to Arnold School in Blackpool. So my father thought that was good school. And he also knew that it was firm, the discipline. And he decided that was me. There was no choice. That was it. That's how I finished at Arnold.
And what's Arnold School about to be called?
The Armfield Academy, yes.
So the story comes full circle.
Well, it does, because the funny thing was the school was good for me because I had some tricky times in my early days. We used to get reports, and I can remember one of them which said, he must improve both in work and behaviour. Simple as that. And I had to take that home for my father to sign. And we had a headmaster, believe me. He was a strict disciplinarian. He was one of those, wherever you were in the school, he was stood next to you. I gave this to my father, who gave me a good hiding, sent me upstairs, and then I went to school the next day. The headmaster read out all the people he wanted to see. And lo, Ben Adams' name led all the rest. You know, the famous poem. So I went to see him, and I always remember it. It was a moment of trepidation. I was outside the door, and he didn't knock harder than that. The door was open. I knew he was in. He didn't answer. So I thought, you didn't answer, knock twice. And then a voice said, come. Not come in or anything. And he was writing like this. I can see him now. And I came in and stood in front of him. And without looking up, he said, those words which they're imprinted in my head. Now what am I going to do with you? So he said, and before you say anything else, I've had a word with your father on the phone this morning. I thought, oh my God, it was going worse. Anyway, cut a long story short, I got what was called the Saturday afternoon detention. And I had to write an essay on how I'm going to improve both in work and behaviour. And I was in quite a clever class. There's 6 lads out of our form went to Oxford or Cambridge. And I went from 23rd in the form to, I think, about 10th or 12th. And he sent for me again, headmaster, who was called Frank Holgate, who I got to really like in later years. And he said, right, now we've found you out already. That's what he said. Right, anything less, and it'll be 2 Saturdays. And even more behinds, that means you get the stick as well. It sort of straightened me out a little bit, really.
But you're at a rugby-only school, so how do you end up on the books of Blackpool as a footballer if you're at a rugby-only school? Because presumably they didn't play football at the school.
No. Well, I always used to run around a lot. I always ran. Wherever I went, I used to run. I used to like running. If I didn't feel so good, I could go for a run and I could put a smile on my face. So I would quite often, run night time. And then during the times that get free at weekends and so on, play on the beach with my friends who lived nearby to where we lived. My father came home after the war and he rented a little shop and he lived there and we could get to the beach and we had 1 or 2 very good players. We had like old Kenny Booth who's signed for Blackpool with me. His father had been a pro footballer. He was a better player than me. Played 1 game in the first team. We drew 2 each at Burnley. He scored the equalising goal and he played really well. And the following week he was back in the reserves. Sort of broke him. But basically it went on from there, playing on the beach, and I nearly always had a little tennis ball in my pocket. And just push it along the street and take it, and play with it. And that's how I learned to become a footballer.
And the game that you were spotted in, you said you liked running. You were actually playing on the wing, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I went to the wing. But what happened was, it was the PE teacher at Arnold School who said to me, he was called George Neal. He said, I've seen you play football around, kicking a ball around. He says, they're having a match at Bloomfield Road, he said, on Friday afternoon. I think it was, I'm not sure when it was going towards Easter time. Go and ask him if you can get a game. He said, have you got any boots? I said, well, yeah. I thought I had, So I said, yeah, I think I have. On the Friday, I went. They had everybody's name down, except mine. The 2 men who were taking the practice, one was called Alec Munro, who played for Blackpool, just before, he'd retired then. And Alec Roxburgh, who was a goalkeeper for Blackpool. They were picking the teams down, and they were 1 short, a winger. So he says, can you play on the wing? I said, oh, yeah. He said, have you 3 played on the wing? So I said, yes. It's a lie. So I said, anyway, he says, right, okay, play on the left wing. I thought, oh, cracky, because I was right-footed. Anyway, the team I was playing for won 4-1, and I scored all 4, incredibly. And, I was never, the one thing you would never latch against me, a goal scorer.
How many games of organised football had you played by that stage? Because you said you learnt to play on the beach. Were you playing for a team? Were you playing for anyone?
Well, they tried to form a team at the Sunday school, but it didn't last. Played, a few games like that. No, I would say I learned to play on the beach.
So you hadn't played much organised football at all?
No. The trick was, you see, I was coming in on my right foot most of the time. And this lad who was playing against me, he was the right fullback. He was a bit stone dead on it, and I soon worked that out. And the ball was coming over from the right side, where we were particularly strong, this group we had. And I was quite often left on my own, just put it away. And yeah, my old friend Ray Charnley, of course, who was no longer with us, unfortunately. He was my roommate for 10 years. And I told him this story. Can't believe that story.
So you go to Blackpool, of course. You were never an apprentice?
No, I wasn't an apprentice. I stayed at school till I did A-levels. I got all my O-levels, 3 A-levels, history, geography and economics. And I got accepted at Liverpool University to read economics. What we had to do in those days, we had to go in the army. And this was another turning point I had, really. I left school. I joined the King's Own Royal Regiment. trained there. I played a football, you know, in the army and so on. And then the Korean War had ended, but there was still, you know, like when wars end, it goes on for a bit longer, and it seemed to go on, and we were still sending troops out to the Far East. And in fact, a few of the lads who were with me, there was 90 of us, about 84 or 5 were sent out to the Far East. They went to Hong Kong. So we had 2 weeks leave, which I had. And what they did, they took the top 5 names off, and they stayed behind because they asked me what I'd like to do. Because I'd been at Arnold School, I'd been in the cadet force, and I had A levels, going to university. They asked me if I'd been interested in getting a commission. I said, no, not really. I'd rather be a PT instructor or something to do with sport. So I got parked off to Wales, to Oswestry. I was on the PE course there, and then I went to Aldershot, and then I came back, and then I used to train the recruits on PE games. That part was quite good. I ran the football team. We won the North West District League, which pleased our commanding officer because he'd never won it before. That was it really, the army.
So how did you get back to Blackpool then, and to becoming a pro after being in the army?
Well, it's an incredible story because I was at Lancaster, I was within reasonable distance if I could get home. Just getting home was the problem. It was 2 trains in those days, Lancaster to Preston, changed Preston to Blackpool. But I was fortunate, I had a friend who lived here. He actually lived around that corner. He was an accountant in Lancaster, and I used to ring him up, and he'd come and pick me up, bring me down. And I got 1 or 2 games. I'd played for 1 or 2 third team games for Blackpool, and then it was in a third team game. I was the right winger. I was still playing on the wing from the 4 goals, and I wasn't having that much success. Anyway, our right back got carried off. I remember our trainer at the time, Sam Jones, said, "Nip between the 2 positions." So I said, okay, and I played there. The next time the team went up, I was right back. So it's been a chapter of accidents, really, as opposed to, you know, a planned career. But I think all of it's down to, frankly, put it bluntly, the fact I could run.
All lined up, Blackpool in the dark shirts kicking off for this 1953 Cup final, and away they go. There is little Ernie Taylor himself. And now here comes Mortensen. Out to the great maestro Matthews himself.
Tell us about Blackpool's greatest day then. Stanley Matthews gets his Cup winners' medal at long last in 1953. Where were you?
I went with the reserve team and everybody. We all went. Yeah, they took us down on the day. We stood up on the Kop behind the goal that Stan Mortensen scored 2. It was incredible because, you know, they'd been in 48 and 51 and lost both times. And this was coronation year, of course, and everybody's dream was for Stanley Matthews to get his cup medal. That's why it became known as the Matthews final. And Stan Mortensen, of course, scored a hat-trick.
And everyone easily forgets that, yeah.
And everybody called it the Matthews. He's still the only player ever to score a hat-trick in an FA Cup final at Wembley. It's incredible, that, when you think about it, isn't it?
There he is, Mortensen. It's a lovely goal! Bolton 3, Blackpool 3. And Bolton now really struggling with a badly depleted side. They've got to pull something out of the bag now.
Morty was the town hero. Stan Matthews was the talisman. Didn't work with that maestro. That's what they called him, maestro. But Morty was lovable, brave, fast, scored goals, you know.
Was he irritated that it was the Matthews final?
No. Morty would never get irritated about anything like that. Never. Because he always used to say, I'd be nothing without Matthews.
There's the man who's really fighting for his cup medal. Could he score the winning goal now, himself? It's there! Perry! What a final!
Do you remember feeling a great sense of relief for Stanley Matthews that at last he'd won it?
I think I did, because I still think he's England's best ever player. Taking everything, you know, the time he played. I'm not saying he'd be the same player today as he was then, but take everything. He was fit. He was so fit. Do you know, I never saw him out of breath. You couldn't give him the ball enough. He was impeccable in his behaviour on the field. He always used to say, if they kick me, I know I've got them. The other thing was too, he was innovative. He could do things that other people couldn't do. And, you know, and above anything else, he just had fantastic skill.
There it is. And where's Stanley Matthews? There's Joe Smith running on to. There's Stanley. At long last, he's done it. And everybody cheering him. And what a great final this has been. There's Joe Smith with Matthews.
What was he like as a person?
Unassuming. I mean, it's the first goal I ever scored. This will tell you a bit about him. We were playing Leicester.
So, because you were playing behind him, of course.
Oh, yeah. I played behind him for about 5 years. Yeah. He used to say things like, I'm making you into a half-decent player. He always have jokes, you know, about that. But when I scored my first goal, he wasn't playing. We were losing 3-2 to Leicester. And at the last minute, it comes to me on the edge of the box what the heck I was doing there, because I was playing right back. I can't remember. And I hit it, and it's one of those that just went in. So I jumped up in the air, you know, 18, 19-year-old, wherever I was, and I was running around and so on. It finished 3-3. It was time up, virtually. And I was a bit full of myself, and the crowd were all, good old Jim, and I was going off and waving, you know, as a teenager would. I went off, and I sat down, and everybody went out. And Matthews came in the dressing room, when everybody was sort of out there, and it was just me and him. He just put his hand on my shoulder as if to say, don't get up. So he says, what was that all about at the end? So I says, what? Town hero. And I thought he was joking, you know, so he says, yeah. There was still 2 minutes of injury time to go. We could have won that match, but you were still full of scoring your goal. He says, what if they'd have got a corner and your mind had still been on that goal? You've got to be prepared to be ready. All this celebration, he says, no. They know who scored. They're all happy for you. I was. He says, you know, concentration. After a goal, concentration. Get back in your position. We could have won that match. We drew 3 each. I went.
You shrunk in your chair. Was that one of many lessons you learnt from playing with him and behind him?
Yeah, he said to me, you never get anything out of retaliating. Weakness of character. And the other thing he always said too, you know, was you've got to be fit to play. People are actually paying to see how fit you are. Well, the manager once said, Joe Smith actually once said to us in a team talk, in all seriousness, any queries at all? Some bright spark said at the back, I think it was Roy Gratrix, he said, what if plan A doesn't work? And Joe, in all seriousness, said, well, do what we always ball, get the ball to Stan.
If in doubt, give the ball. Sort of shouting to you quite often, Jim, wasn't it? Give it to Stanley.
Any trouble, yeah. Well, I was giving him these 5-yard passes, you know, giving him the ball, and everybody keeps saying, you know, his pass rate is fantastic.
You'd say yours would be over 5 yards.
I tell you what he was good at. He was good at getting himself in possession to get the ball as well, because he was quite often double marked. And that's how we started the overlapping full-back game. People said, oh, it was my innovation. Well, it wasn't really, other than that quite often used to play 2 men on him, full-back, and then the number 11 or the left winger would go back and double up. So if you got past him, you'd have another one. So I said to Stan, in all humbleness one day, I said, the two of them were stood like that. If I went round the outside, put the ball through, you know, I might be able to get to the ball. And he looked at me and went...
Just a little nod.
That means no. So I went back, and we were playing Luton, and we were winning 2 or 3-0, I remember. I got the ball, I gave it to Stan, I went up, their 2 lads dropped back. So I set off round the outside, and Stan put the ball through, right through the gap, and I was through, on my own, coming in at the right side. Anyway, I shot wide. So we go in the dressing room after the game, thankfully we'd won. And Joe Smith, the manager, said to me, what was that all about? I said, what? Wing play, what's all that about? I said, well, I saw space, and I thought, you know. He said, I don't think you've noticed. The number 7 we've got has done quite well without your help so far. He wasn't very keen on it. It was only when Joe went, you know, that we liberated it a bit more. But there it was. With England, you know, we started doing it.
Jimmy, we associate with Blackpool forever, of course. But Matt Busby wanted to take you to Manchester United in 1957.
Yeah. Well,
now, it's not, clearly today, you'd have had an agent, you'd have had an army of PR people, if you'd wanted to, manoeuvring that move to Old Trafford. But it's very different in those days when clubs owned your registration. You couldn't go anywhere if Blackpool didn't want you to go anywhere.
No, you couldn't move, no. When I was in the army, I was very friendly with Duncan Edwards. They were all my group. Eddie Coleman, Bill Folks, they were all in the army team with me. I forget how it got out anyway in the press. He knew that I knew Duncan quite well, and this is Joe Smith. Anyway, Matt Busby had made an approach to see if I'd be interested in going, you know. And they used to train quite often at the Norberg Hydro in Blackpool, Manchester United. And I've been up there to see Duncan and Eddie Coleman. Joe Smith said to me, well, Manchester United have inquired about you. So I said, yeah. He said, well, you tell your friend Edwards, if he wants to tap anybody, tell him to come and tap me. Now, off. That's what I got.
Did you want to go?
It hadn't really entered my mind, really, to be honest. It was a bit of a surprise. I didn't believe it until I actually heard it. Because, you know, it was the Busby Babes. Had I gone, just before Munich.
It was the year before.
So it was a February. Well, this was at the end of 57, I would think.
On the fringe of a Munich airport lies the wreckage of an airliner, still smouldering from a crash in which 21 people were killed. Tragedy enough at any time. But in that plane were a group of young men who were almost the personal friends of millions. Manchester United, the finest soccer team Britain has produced since the war. And 7 of them died in the crash. 10 others, as well as their famous manager, Matt Busby, were injured.
Talk to us about Duncan Edwards. It's a name that everybody knows, and everybody knows that he died at Munich. Tell us about what he was like as a person, and tell us particularly what he was like as a player.
Well, I always had a bit of a soft spot for him because he's such a good player. He's one of those players who had terrific power. When we played the Czechs, I remember playing the Czechs in Bratislava. He terrified them. I think he scored 2. I think we won 3-0 or something. And he was running forward. I mean, he got 1 goal, and he was running, and he ran towards them from the left-hand side of the field, just left of centre, and he hit it first time. And I thought, why didn't they come out and tackle him? This is the Czech team, remember, that got through to the World Cup final in '62, and they all looked at him. He could intimidate you because he was powerful, but the one thing very few say, he was very skillful with the ball, very skillful. I always remember when we were in the army, we went down to Shrewsbury, and he was playing with the ball. And the first time I ever realised he could do anything with it. You know, flick it up, bring it down, turn. You have to remember we were young, and you know, there was time for him to develop. He was still only a young chap.
You're quite shy?
I wouldn't say shy. No, he's not shy. He had an outgoing side, and he could laugh. He could laugh very easily. He played against the Germans in Berlin, and we won 3-1. I wasn't playing. I read somewhere afterwards, I forget who the manager of Germany was, said, he's phenomenal. And he was.
Near the German goalmouth, left half Duncan Edwards cuts through the defence line like a knife through butter. He beats Wafers and shoots, and it's in the net. A beautiful goal.
He would have had a great bearing on the next few years through the World Cups. I mean, so in Munich, you know, we lost half the team. 58, we'd have won it in 58 and 62. When you think, you know, we lost Tommy Taylor, who was a good centre forward, Roger Byrne, good full-back, you know, good player, Duncan Edwards, David Pegg, Eddie Coleman. They were all top-line players.
Duncan Edwards injured, Bill Fuchs injured. Mark Jones killed. Ray Wood injured. Eddie Coleman killed. David Pegg killed. Dennis Violet injured. Tommy Taylor killed. Roger Byrne killed. Bill Whelan killed. John Barry injured. At the time of going to press, Matt Busby was fighting for his life. The team secretary, Walter Krigmer, was killed.
Because Manchester United had tapped you up in inverted commas, do you think about the fact that had you gone to Manchester United then, you would have been on the plane? Do you think about that at all?
No, never really thought about that. No, it was bad enough as it was. I remember where I was when it happened. You know, we'd been doing afternoon training, and so we'd been kept at the ground during the day and afternoon training. The news came that, you know, it was hard to believe at the time. You have to remember the war had hardened us a bit.
But you're in no doubt Duncan Edwards would have been one of the greats of English football.
Oh yes, I'd have to believe that. He imposed himself on, you know. We played against him. We were going for the title, Blackpool, at one stage with United. And I remember I was going down the field, and he absolutely floored me. He took the ball, and he took me as well. And I'm on the ground, and I'm on the ground, looked at him. I said, "Thanks very much." I can't tell you what he said, but the point was, you know, he was terrific competitor. Terrific competitor.
Tell us about your first full cap.
Yeah, I'd been in the Young England team for 3 years, probably. I do think that is a good grounding. We were on a tour. We were going to play in Italy, and we were going to play in Germany, and the England team were getting ready to go and play on the South American tour. So Walter Winterbottom came with us because before they set off, he'd come and watch us. We were playing in Italy. Big game. It's a big crowd, Milan, and we won 3-0. He decided after the match to take Jimmy Greaves and me off the tour to go and play with the first team in Brazil. And instead of getting ready to fly off to Germany, he was with us on the overnight train where we picked up a Swiss airplane, 4 of us in the plane, with the Swiss manager and his wife. Flew to London, picked the team up, flew to Brazil. I had to ring up when I got, says, "I'm not coming home, I'm going to Brazil." And they had no left fullback. Walter Winterbottom said to me, "Have you played left fullback?" And I said, "Not really, no." Well, he said, "I think you better manage it." So I said, "Okay." We got Don Howe was right back. Myself, Billy Wright was centre half. It was a transitional period for the England team. Maracana, that's where I made my debut. And they scored in the first minute. They scored a goal, and I hadn't touched the ball. I thought, blimey, you know, it's a good start, that. And it was one of those days, you know, when we came lined up, it was, you know, at the time, they just won the World Cup in '58, you know, sort of thing. It was Pelly and all that group. We were lined up, and I can always remember the helicopters flying over, rockets going, the band were playing, the samba bands, everything was bouncing, dancers around the ground. And my head was all over the place, you know. Billy Wright was trying to, you know, calm us all down, but, you know. Anyway, we lost 2-0, I think we lost. We played well, actually, in the second half. I got going second half. But by then we were 2 down. But I played then against Peru, Mexico, and USA on that tour. All left back.
But your first 4 caps were all left back?
Out of position.
You said that your wartime experiences shaped you, as I think probably shaped all your generation. Yeah. So my question is, when you're lining up making your England debut, you know, we like to think it's the most emotional moment of your life and you're thinking of your mum and dad and your family and your friends and isn't this incredible? You're just thinking, it's a game of football, here we go.
Well, I was on edge, obviously. I was still young. First game, playing against the world champions on their own pitch. And Billy Wright was trying to concentrate, you know, trying to get the concentration right. That was the thing as much as anything. So really, it took a little bit of it to steam in. Once we got going, the crowd, it was unbelievable, the crowd figure, but it was absolutely packed. It was a totally different world for somebody who'd been in the army, gone out to play in Italy, and here we are.
So by the time you went back for the World Cup in Chile in 1962, at least you had been exposed on that tour to some of the crowds, to some of the environment, to some of the terrain, because you stayed in some quite Spartan places in that World Cup, didn't you?
62, yeah. We got off the plane, Santiago. We got a train up to another destination. Then we got into a single track carriage, and that took us to a mining camp, the Braden Copper Company.
Up in the hills?
Up in the hills. And we stayed there for 2 weeks before we played. The only entertainment was what we could do ourselves, playing cards or whatever. No television, remember. There was a golf course, a 9-hole golf course roundabout, which was owned by the Braden Copper Company, which we'd go to. And there was a sort of a cinema, which occasionally showed a film that we might understand, you know.
Were you bored?
No, I wasn't bored. I've never been bored with footballers, no. We always found something.
In that World Cup, you reached the quarter-final. You lost to Brazil on your debut. You lost to Brazil there on their way to winning the World Cup back-to-back.
Yeah.
Not a bad Brazilian team to lose to be fair.
No, you know, they won it. But the point was, they were good. They were a good team. But frankly, we played well. We had a real knockdown. Before we set off, we lost Bobby Smith, which was a real blow to us. And then, when we got there, we lost our centre-half, Peter Swan. He got terrible stomach trouble. He was in hospital, never played a game for us. That's how young Bobby Moore came into the team. Bob didn't have Peter's experience and know-how and his partnership with Ron Flowers, you know. I mean, he did all right, nothing to do with that. What I'm saying is it was just, we lost 2 key players there. We played well. We missed 2 good chances in that game. And funny, you know, when you look back, when I thought about it, I thought the Czechs would have been next. We'd already beaten them 4-1 in Bratislava the year before. And I thought to myself, this is it. I thought, we're going to do this. 62. I honestly believed it. And I've never been one who's, you know, always been that overconfident. But I just thought we could do it. I think it was around my best time, between 60 and sort of 66. And a few of our players were very much the same. And the game changed on a free kick.
Is Didi coming? No. Garincha. And Baba has scored. It's 2-1. Baba has made it 2-1.
From that point, their crowd had never been quite so. Not suddenly all the drums started beating and the samba came out, you know. And they beat us in the quarter-final.
Now Didi. Zito is in unmarked position. Garincha now coming to the middle, and there's Amarildo to Garincha. It's a goal, a beautiful goal by Garincha. Oh, that was a scorcher.
We went back to the hotel, and that is the most disappointing night I've had in football. I was so sure we could do it. So sure we could do it.
You thought England could win the World Cup?
Oh, I did, yeah. I thought we could do it. That was why when we came to play in 66, I thought we'd win it.
You were voted, in the 62 World Cup, you were voted the best right back, so you were the best right back in the world.
Mm.
Did you get a little memento? Did you get a trophy?
Well, we actually left as the semi-final started. Can you believe this today? 6 of us were sent from Santiago Airport to New York, overnight, Manchester. London Brigade came back, the route planned. We went early. So if somebody's got that trophy...
Have you ever seen it? Have you ever seen a photo of it?
No.
No, just an acknowledgement. Best right back in the world.
That's it, yeah.
Well, that was great, but even greater was to come because Walter Winterbottom steps down, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Alf Ramsey becomes manager.
Yeah.
You become England captain.
I was captain 6. Because what happened was Johnny Haynes, he got injured in a car crash on Blackpool Promenade. I'd been captain of the young England team, so I became captain. I was captain 62, 3, 4.
Were you captain Alf's first match?
Yes.
Against France, yeah.
Yeah, we played France, and we lost 5-2. And, well, he changed the team round, to be honest, and he did.
You did well to survive that then, Jim.
Well, the thing was, actually we shouldn't have played. It was freezing, it was cold, and it was in the old Column Stadium, and the floodlights were poor. We were probably poor as well. Anyway, I sat down on the bus, and Alf got in the bus, and he sat next to me, and I thought, oh. So he said, after the bus had got going on its way to the airport, he said, do we always play like that? So I said, no. I said, it must be a one-off. Well, he said, that's the first bit of decent news I've had all night. That's what he said.
How would you characterise your relationship with Alf Ramsey? So he's made you captain.
He was straightforward. He was, in his approach, really, in terms of his word game, it was fairly simple, really. Everything was one-line throwaways, one sentence, basically. But he could be quite cutting. I remember we played against Scotland at Wembley. The ball came to me on the edge of the box, on the edge of our box, and as it came, I tried to turn it away. And as I turned it away, I always remember kicked the ball into Jim Baxter's legs, and it hit his legs, and it ran back this way favourably. So I was on the outside now, as opposed to being on the inside. So Jim Baxter got, and they crossed the ball and they scored. I thought to myself, oh dear. So I got into the dressing room, and Alf came over to me and he said, you won't do that again, will you? So I said, no, I won't. No, he said, you won't. That was it. That was the end of that conversation. And every time the ball came to me in that situation, I just woofed it with my left foot down the field.
So you were Alf's captain, and obviously by this stage, everybody knows the World Cup will be held in England in 1966. And you're captain up till 1964 when you get injured.
Yeah. Last day of the season.
Last day of the season, 63-64, you get injured. World Cup's 2 years away.
It was even worse than that, because I was playing quite well at the time. You know when you're playing well. And we went to Ipswich on the last day of the season. I had my bag with me, my suitcase ready to go to what was the Little World Cup in South America, to Brazil. Alf was in the stand, it was at Ipswich, and the arrangement was all the lads would come home and I'd go with Alf to London and join the team. I was running down the field, there was nobody anywhere near me. I just suddenly got this pain. And I thought, oh my God. And I just had to stop dead in my tracks. One or two of the crowd laughed, but I just I couldn't move. I was struggling. And I thought, what have I done here? You know, I was... Anyway, cut a long story short, they had to stretch me off, and instead of going to Brazil, I finished up in Blackpool Hospital. And what I'd done, I'd got a bit more than a hernia. It was like a ruptured groin. Today they can repair it. In those days, it wasn't easy. And I had to ring up Alf and say to him, you know, I'm not going to make it. He said, do you want to leave it a few days and see if you can go? I said, okay, I'll leave it. Left it 2 or 3 days. I got out of bed, but that was about it. You know, I said, no, there's no way I'm going to make it. And that's when I missed out.
So you can't go to the Little World Cup in 1964?
No, I spent all summer recovering here. And I found out in the end, after I come out of the treatment and so on, I used to run on the beach. I used to wade into the sea, wade against the waves, you know, to try and strengthen my leg up. And I got back playing again, probably, I don't know when it was, probably September, October, I don't know. But when I came back, I was all right. I think George Coyne might have come in the team then, I can't remember. I think George, he did all right, so, you know, and I was sort of recovering. Anyway, it got through to the beginning of 66. I hadn't played in the England team for over a year now. I saw Alf once, somewhere to match, he never did anything. But then I saw him, I played it somewhere in the Midlands. After the game, he came to see me. And he said to me, how are you? So I said, good. He says, are you fit for the World Cup? So I said, okay. I must have been the first player ever to be told he was going to be selected. That's absolutely true story. So I'd like to be fit for the World Cup. So I said, oh, that's great.
But you knew, obviously, because of Bobby Moore, that you were never going to be captain again.
Well, the first game I came back, I played against Yugoslavia at Wembley. I was captain. Well, you know when you play well. I played well. They were a good team, Yugoslavia, you know, the Serbs, the Croats, all them, you know, they're all lunched together in those days. And they had some good players. We beat them 2-0. And then we went on the pre-tour to the World Cup. Anyway, we played in Finland. I was playing well, winning 3-0. And right at the end of the match, a guy comes and he stood on my foot. I sort of carried on a bit and I thought, crack, it's sore this. Anyway, they gave me an x-ray and my little toe had a crack down it. It wasn't too bad. But Al said, well, you're not playing in the next warm-ups, you know. You've got to be fit for the World Cup start. I never played again. He kept the defence for the next game. And they were the best part of the team, really, when they started. And he never changed the back four.
Did you find that very hard to deal with?
No.
No?
Not hard, not really hard. No. Of course we wanted to play. Of course you wanted to play, but you've got... It's something you have no control over anyway. I had no control over it. The back four were doing okay. I could see that. Players are not blind. And the thing is, they were doing all right, and I presume he thinks, well, this is the group. I wouldn't have picked the team Alf Ramsey had picked. But that doesn't mean to say, what matters is what the end product is.
But you'd been captain against Yugoslavia.
And against
come back
Finland.
Into the team.
And against Finland.
You played really well. You were captain against Finland. You must be thinking at that stage, hang on a second, I'm playing well and I'm captain. I could be captain of England in the World Cup in England in a couple of months' time here.
Well, I was too busy concentrating on what I was doing at the time. I was one of these players, when I played, I was...
But my point being, once you'd got the injury and you didn't get back in the team...
No, I hoped to play, of course
I think
did.
most people listening to me would be unbelievably frustrated and insanely jealous.
Well, no, I wasn't. Say jealous would be wrong. If I'd have felt the other players were inferior or something like that, I'd say, yeah. You see, like a lot of other clubs, we'd never won anything at Blackpool. We've been close. Like with runners up to Manchester United, in the old First Division. So we hadn't quite had as much as some other players. We didn't. I think the other thing is too, it depends on your attitude as a player. It could have been, much worse. But I did what I thought I could do. If you don't pick me, that's it. I think too many get into all kinds of rhapsodies about this, and you're either in or you don't. Football is not a game that travels like that. Football travels like that.
Ups and downs, peaks and troughs. Yeah.
Yeah. If you draw graphs, it's very rare you get what I call an equilibrium that's nice and straightforward. There's always something. I've been unlucky once or twice really with injuries. And
that's as unlucky as it gets, Jimmy, to miss captaining your country in your home World Cup. I think
that's right.
Most people would think that's as unlucky as it gets.
Well, I had been there. I had done it, and I had got there. And then, but people said to me, I always remember Mike Ingham saying to me, he said, the one thing I've always wanted to ask you, he said, at the end of the World Cup in '66, when it was all over, you were smiling on the field with Bobby. He said, you must have been saying, I said, no, isn't it better that we won? Isn't it better that we won? It is better we won, because today people look back and they say, well, you remember the World Cup squad. It's not the same as being in the 11 who played in the final. But the point was, it's better that they won. It is now more than ever, isn't it?
Well, Jimmy, frankly, that's the measure of you as a man.
There's Bobby Moore of England, Cohen, Ball, Banks, Wilson, Hurst, Charlton, Bobby Charlton, Peters, Stiles, and Jackie Charlton bringing up the rear. And West Germany, captained by Uwe Seeler, who 12 years ago made his debut on this very ground for West Germany when he was just 18. And at that time, West Germany were the world champions, having won the World Cup in 1954. They were fourth in 1958. England never before have got past the quarter-final stage.
I can picture in a very smart red V-neck on the bench on that sunny day.
Well,
in the cup final.
Yeah, that's right. It was
you and Norman Hunter, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Norman. Yeah, he was superstitious. He brought up with Don Revie. You had to wear this, and you had to do this, and he must go out at 3 o'clock, and he goes number 3 in the lineup. That sort of thing. We had none of that. Anyway, we won the first game, and I went in this red jumper, and I was going with Norman. He says, "Where's your red jumper?" So I said, "Get your red jumper on," and that's how it started.
And what are your memories of the final?
Alan Ball, because he was a Blackpool player. In that game, I thought he was the engine. He was forthright in everything. The only thing is, I was watching him playing and I thought, we're never going to keep him at Blackpool. Soon after he went to Everton. Yeah. That was the first memory I had. And the other one was, we didn't sit on the bench through the game. We were in the stand. I was like the leader of the other pack. I was in the end seat, so they put me in the end seat. Alf said to me, whatever happens, you get the lads up and they can come down to the bench. I want them all down there at the end, come what may. We were sat there, till
So it's 2-1 to England.
We were winning 2-1. So this guy said, yeah, so I said, come on lads, and we all got up and walked down. And I was the first one out under the royal box, and they're all following me. We went out, and as I got in, Germany equalised. So I don't believe this lot behind me saw that goal, but there we go.
Every Englishman coming back, every German going forward. Now, will the Germans snatch a dramatic equaliser and bring us to extra time? It's Emmerich coming in. And he's... Oh, yes, they must do! They have done! Weber has scored in the last seconds.
They equalised. That was the one abiding memory I had. I thought, oh my goodness. So I went and I saw Alf and he went, oh, sit here. And I sat right next to him, I'm right behind him. You can imagine how Alf felt. So we just sat there, you know.
We are now in injury time. And there goes the whistle for the end of 90 minutes, so you can see how near England were to the World Championship. But now they have another 30 minutes.
I was down at ground level. Your eyes trained to live at ground level, really. And I couldn't quite believe the Germans in the latter part of the game. If you ever look at the last goal, you get this lovely pass from Bobby.
For 4-2, yep.
Yeah, he knocked it over the top. First of all, that really was a terrific ball, that really. In that circumstance, 3-2, we're holding on, death, you know. Ball goes over the top and Jeff runs after it. And they've got a player at left full back. And if you ever watch it, he runs back like that. His job was to come across and
he just runs
down.
straight towards his own goal rather than try and cut him off. Yeah.
Alan Ball ran in there, and Alan Ball was looking, you know, he was still running Bally. And this guy probably was thinking, well, I'll keep my eye on Alan Ball. His first job is to stop that. And of course, Jeff finished it.
And here comes Hurst. He's got some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. It's goal.
It was strange, really. We sat there, and all the players who were not playing, were all thrilled. That moment, I know they were. Say whatever they like, they want to play, but they were all thrilled, I think.
The reserves are on. There's George Easton. There's Jimmy Armfield. There's John Kennelly. This great moment in English sporting history as Bobby Moore goes up to get the World Cup. Alf Ramsey walking forward to shake his hand. There is Alf Ramsey, the first sign of emotion from this man who has organised this victory.
It was a bit trying, not getting a game, you know, when you don't play. It is trying. Of course it is. But that's part of it.
And it shows a sign of the times. You've told me this before. That night, you have a big dinner in the Royal Kensington Hotel.
Royal Garden.
Royal Garden Hotel in Kensington. But Anne and the other wives, they're not with you, are they? They're a couple of floors down in a separate room.
They put the women in another room. And to make it even, the women of today, they were given a present. And they were all given a pair of scissors. When we had the get-together this year, of, you know, the 50 years, last year, for 50 years of World Cup, somebody says, do you remember that? I said, I've been reminded about it for the last 50 years.
On a daily basis.
Everybody in Wembley collapsed laughing when I said it, but the point was... But they did that, but then eventually they sort of allowed them to come and talk to us. But it was quite odd, really. It was quite odd when you think about it. Today it wouldn't just happen.
That's 1966. We could leave it at that. Where did you go afterwards? You went. I hope you went deep into the night in the West End or somewhere.
Well, funnily enough, we had nothing planned to go anywhere. Bobby Moore said, I've been invited to the Playboy Club. So they put my arm up my back, and there was Bobby and his wife, Anne and myself, and they were pouring champagne over and whatnot, you know. But I would have preferred sort of everybody to stay together. Because the next day, we were all on our way home. We all went for the television programme. But we all went there and we had a lunch. After the lunch was over, Alf got all the players together in a room, no bigger than this, 22 of us, with the staff, in this room, we're all sort of cramped together. And he said, we've never talked about money. And we all knew that there was £22,000 to be divided between us. And I said, well, we sort of agreed really what was going to happen, but I didn't like jumping in because I hadn't played. And Bob said, whatever we do, share and share alike. So it's everybody gets £1,000. Come whether you played, whether you didn't. Is that okay? He said, yeah. I said, that's fair enough. And he said, okay, I'll see you all soon. And that was it, finish. And that was the only time money was mentioned from the start to the finish.
You got taxed on it?
£764 or something like that.
Not that you were counting.
I wouldn't even buy me a second-hand car. But it was...
you did it for the glory, Jim.
Well, they did, really. It was... I felt it was crucial with it being in England. I did. It's turned out it was crucial.
You can't have thought that day, could you?
No.
You cannot have thought that England would not reach another final, let alone win. The Euros weren't as big then as they are now. They were still going, obviously. But you cannot have thought this will be the last time England will be in a final.
On our programme, over the last 50 years, I must have said, every time we've gone to the World Cup, you know, when I've gone with Radio 2 and then 5 Live, whatever it's been, I've always felt we had a chance when we set off. I've never been right yet.
Let's talk about the next phase of your life, retirement and management. Retirement you played against your great friend Bobby Charlton for your last game, your last game for Blackpool, 1971.
I'd had a bit of knee trouble, knee was a bit sore. I could have played, Blackburn Rovers wanted me to carry on playing, and I thought, no, time is right. It's come to better players than me. And then I was offered the job at Bolton.
And they're in the old third division.
Yes, they were just been relegated.
You went straight into that?
Yeah.
Literally finished 70-71, and you were straight to
Bolton.
You know, when you're a player, they always say that you're a player, you have to look after yourself primarily. You've got to be fit, do your job in the team. Suddenly you're taking on the whole club and obviously the results and everybody's concerns.
I did go on the FA coaching courses. That was quite often frowned on, you know. Oh, yeah. Footballers aren't there, footballers, you know. Tony Waiters, who was our goalkeeper, he and I went on the FA coaching courses. We got the first licence and then we got the A licence. We used to go around at night time and form coaching associations in the area, and I thought it was a way forward. I always thought it was a way forward, rather than turning up and everybody expecting to play like Stan Matthews. A lot of the really great players have not come through coaching schemes, you know. You can name hundreds of them playing today. When you think about Maradona and Pelé and Messi to a point as well. There's not many footballers come through university life. It's not that type of thing. But I thought there's more to it than that. You know, I'd like to see the defence lined up a bit better. You know, think about what we're trying to do. And anyway, I carried it out at Bolton. I arranged for 2 pre-season friendlies. I got 2 of my friends to bring their teams to come. I got Dave Sexton to bring Chelsea. Jimmy Adamson brought Burnley. And we beat them both in a pre-season friendly. And I thought, I'm looking at these players who've been relegated to the 3rd division. They're a bit better than I thought. By November, we were about 5th off the bottom. We had a chairman called Jack Banks, who was a real sage. He said, what are you doing with this? I said, well, what I'm doing, I've got some good young players, and what I'm doing, I'm working on them Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons myself. I said, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. He said, well, I wasn't on that building site. That's what he said. He was a builder. He said, I wasn't on that building site. But he says, is it any good? He said, have some damn guts in you. Put them in the team. Anything's better than that rubbish. Anyway, cut a long story short, I put them in, 3 of them in for one game, and we won 2-1. Lucky as hell, but we won. They started to play these kids, and they did all right. And then gradually we got them playing in a style, and the other 3rd division teams couldn't handle it. We won the match with 2.
And did you love the whole tactics, the week, being responsible for everything?
I did everything.
Did you love it all at that stage?
Well, I was under pressure, really. To say I loved it would be not wrong, but I enjoyed what I was doing. I enjoyed what I was doing. The first year, we moved from the bottom and we finished about 6th. And the second year, we won it with about 3 matches to spare. And 1 or 2 people came to me and asked me if I'd, interested in moving. And I wasn't really interested in moving. I was quite happy at Bolton. And then Everton came to see if I was interested in going. I went over to see John Moores. I went to his house and we had some lunch. And we never talked about football. He was talking about his paintings and all this sort of stuff. And then he says, "Do you fancy the job at Everton?" So I said, I've only been at Bolton 2 years, really, 2 and a bit. Well, he said, "I think you can do this job here." So I said, "I'll think about it. I'll ring you tomorrow." I said, "Don't leave it longer than tomorrow." So I said, "All right." So I went to him and rang him the next day. I said, "I don't think I'm ready for that." He said, "OK, put the phone down."
Was that the right decision?
Well, I left it for about another 3 or 4 months, and I got the team established in what's the Championship now, the old 2nd Division. And then out of the blue, Leeds came for me.
The appointment of Brian Clough on July the 22nd had not been the unanimous decision of the Leeds board. His dismissal 44 days later came at a time when the manager's greatest ally, Bob Roberts, was abroad.
Why is he going, Mr. Cousins? I mean, there is no answer to that question.
Because we've been spoilt by Don Revie.
The guy who takes my position, I hope that, he will find it a little bit smoother and everything will go well for him.
Brian had been there. I played with Cloughie in Football League teams. Well, I knew what he was like. This was a team that won the Championship last year. Currently, they were next to the bottom after about 12 or 14 matches. I can't remember how many there were. And I knew 1 or 2 of the players and what they were capable of and so on. And 1 or 2 had better track records than I had. So I went over and I spoke to them. And I met them and I liked the club. And I thought, yeah, why not? Well, in my time, they weren't anything really until sort of Don got there, till Don Revie got there. Don Revie had taken over the England team. And Don Revie had asked me, he asked me to go to London. And Don said to me, "I'd like you to come with me to look after the England team. And you can look after the young England team, then you can come with us when we go on, So I was offered the job really as his number 2. And we met in a hotel on the Bayswater Road. He says, "Now then, I've also heard my old club have been on to you." I said, "Yeah, they have, yeah. Take my advice and take it. All you've got to do is turn them out."
So you turned down Everton, you'd had this conversation with Don Revie, then you think, right.
This is it.
This is too big a job and too big an opportunity to turn down. So what was the first thing? So Leeds, the champions, had a shambolic start to the next season. Billy Bremen had been suspended for a few games, hadn't he? Because he'd been sent off for fighting the Charity Shield.
And he was injured as well.
And injured. Clough goes after 44 days. It's absolute chaos, isn't it? He alienated the dressing room, told them to chuck their medals in the bins because they won them by cheating.
Yeah.
So what's your first game in charge? I think you told me once you used to have lunch in Roundhay Park.
Roundhay Park.
So what did you say to the team?
Well, I let Maurice Lindley pick the team because he'd been with Don quite a long time. And I said to him, "What's up with him?" They just didn't gel. He said because he'd said things about Leeds, Revie style, criticised, he'd been very critical of them. And they were going to take some manoeuvring. They're just not responding at all. And in the meantime, I led to believe that people like Johnny Giles and Billy Bremner might have thought, they might have done the job. I don't know. Anyway, we sat down at Roundhay Park and he said his words and I watched them all and I was looking at them and they were all looking at me. I said, "I'll just say one thing to you, really. Maurice has picked the team. I'm not going to make my mind up about you all until we've been here for a little bit of time. I am the total opposite of Brian. Just ask me one question. Why is this team of international players who win the Championship next to the bottom of the 1st Division? Please somebody tell me." Got a few words out of 1 or 2 of them. I think we played Arsenal first. They won 2-0. Somebody said, "What did you say to those players?" Turned it round. "What did you say?" I didn't tell them. Never said. 2 bits of sandpaper don't rub together quite so easily.
And they pick up, such to the extent, never a problem about keeping their place in the old 1st Division, but reached the European Cup final.
Well, we did. We came through Europe. Well, in those days, it was a knockout as well. Lose and you're out. Beat Zurich first, then we played Anderlecht. We passed Doja, who actually were quite good. And then, of course, we played Barcelona, Cruyff and Nayskins. they were favourites to win it. We beat them at home 2-1, and we drew 1 each there.
The ball just outside that Barcelona penalty, and a chance for Leeds United, and Leeds United have scored. And the stadium has gone absolutely silent. 90,000 people have absolutely lost their voices, and Leeds United have got just the start they wanted. Only 7 minutes gone, and incredibly, Leeds United have scored. So Leeds United lead by 3 goals to 1 on aggregate, and it's going to take all the might of Barcelona and Johan Cruyff now.
They were good players, and they took us to the final. I mean, see, to beat Barcelona was quite an achievement, really. I must give myself a little bit of tactically we played well, but the players individually were good.
And you played Bayern Munich in Paris. They were the great Bayern Munich, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the Beckenbauer Bayern Munich, the Gerd Müller Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
You played really well, didn't you?
Yeah, we played well. Couldn't have asked any more. Scored a goal, had a penalty turned down, which it's easy. If you look at it now on the old films, you can see it's a blatant penalty.
Beckenbauer fouled Alan Clark.
Clarkey coming through on the byline, pulled him down. I mean, see, it was ridiculous. And I remember we had Bob English, our old physio, with us, and I turned to him, I said, we're going to finish up with a draw. So he says, why? I said, I don't think we're going to win this somehow. And within 5 minutes, they scored.
So you had the penalty turned down, then Lorimer volleys in a goal, and Billy Bremner is marginally offside in a passive position, as we'd say nowadays.
Yeah, doing nothing. It was just
doing nothing.
It was unbelievable.
Initially, the goal was given, wasn't it? Then Beckenbauer made the referee go and talk to the linesman.
That's right.
Who'd run back to the centre circle, run back to the halfway line.
20 minutes gone then in the second half, and still the Parc des Princes waits for a goal in this 20th European Cup final. A free kick to Leeds United, taken there by Charles, nodded inside there by Madeley. The ball's up in the air, the shot there by Peter Lorimer, and that is that. We are 20 minutes into this second half, and in fact the flag is up on this near side. The Leeds United players are appealing. The flag is up on this near side of the field, and I think the referee is going to disallow it. No question about that. We've got Mr. Kitchepian now coming to this near side to talk to the linesman himself. He's being followed by Joris, he's being followed by Rini, and in fact there's Rini holding the Leeds United players back, and in fact he's had a word with the linesman, and that goal has been disallowed.
And of course we lost the match. I was livid. I was upset. I was upset for the players. You know, they left the medals in the dressing room. I picked them all up and took them back, and I gave it to them all when we all settled down. They wouldn't pick them up.
Do you think the referee was got at?
I'll never know that. I can't really believe that a referee can be got at, but it has been known now, of course. Since.
Well, it was known with Nottingham Forest in a UEFA Cup a few years afterwards.
Let's put it this way. I didn't want to believe that. And what happened was, of course, our supporters, they were sitting by it all. They started, misbehaving. Well, one or two of them did. Consequently, there was eruptions afterwards.
And more missiles are coming on now, and a Leeds fan has jumped over the touchline, has jumped over the wall rather, and is being restrained by at least a dozen people as the ball is back in play again. You don't know what to watch here, the terraces or the field, and that fan is dragged away. 10 minutes of this European Cup final to go. Leeds trailing by 1-0. The scorer, Franz Ruth, for Bayern Munich. And Leeds are under pressure again as the ball is slid into the middle. And Muller has made it through. And Leeds United are dead now. Gerd Muller takes the congratulations of the joyous Bayern Munich fans. And Leeds, after waiting 10 years, see the European Cup snatched from their grasp. Bayern Munich 2. Leeds United 0, a sad night for English football.
We finished up with a 4-year ban from Europe.
You didn't say anything in the immediate aftermath of the game to the press, the people.
Well, I knew, because I knew what happened.
Did you have to count to 100 and swallow hard and think,
no, I'm quite good.
Much as I want to, I'm not going to say anything?
No, I'm not too bad at holding my temper.
But you admitted you were livid. I've never heard you say you've ever been angry before, Jimmy.
Oh, I was upset for the players and the spectators. I was upset for them all. I thought they deserved to win it. We got the 4-year ban, and I thought, now what am I going to do here? So I went to the board and I just said to them, we should appeal against this. Oh, wasting your time. They all said, wasting your time. And nobody wanted to do it. So I said, well, I'm going to appeal against it. And I always remember Bob Roberts, who was one of the directors, said, well, that's up to you. If you want to, you know. But we're not standing anywhere, but it's up to you. So I got my air ticket, went off to Geneva. I got it reduced to 2 years. At least the secretary paid me my airfare back. I knew then that that was the time when I was going to have to make changes in the team. I didn't officially get sacked. It wasn't so they sacked me. We got 3 new directors, and the new directors said we were 7, you know, changed a few of the team over. You can't change the team over like we had and lose Bremner and Giles and Hunter and Lorimer and Yora. We can't do it. I said, you just can't do it. I can't replace them, never mind anything else. I said, gradually, it's one at a time, a bit at a time, you know, which is what we're doing. I brought 4 players in, they all did it for us. And we were doing okay. And I thought, oh, things are starting to look good. We got a youth team going. These young directors were saying, well, I said behind my back when I wasn't there apparently that it's not the same league, you know, as it had been. And I could see that there was a bit of anxiety. And I've been there, 4 years? My contract ran out in November, 1st of November, end of October. And it was then June. I said to the chairman, I don't want to start committing myself. Because I've got elderly parents, kids in school, wife's nursing, friends are all around me in Blackpool. I said, I don't want to start committing myself until, if you're going to give me another contract. The contract ends in another 5 months. I'll be signing on for a 4-year deal. And he said, well, I'll ask him. I said, well, they either do want me or they don't. It's as simple as that. Anyway, in the end, he said they won't extend your contract. So I said, in that case, then it's better if we call it a day.
Were you ready then to step away from frontline management? As you said, the kids were at school.
Well,
so
I was offered Newcastle, Chelsea. I was then offered Atletico Bilbao. I assume that was on the strength of beating Barcelona, I don't know. And then I was offered the national coach's job in Iran. They offered me £20,000 more than I'd ever been on, which was quite a lot of money then. I thought about it, I thought, blimey. And while they did it, they attacked the American embassy, and it made my mind up. Paul Doherty, who was running Granada Television, said, would you come and do 1 or 2 shows for us? So I did. I went and did 1 or 2 shows. He gave me a few bob, and it taught me a little bit about, you know, how television worked. And then I saw myself on television, and I thought, oh no. Frankly, I didn't like what I saw. I thought it was all right, but Paul knew I wasn't over keen on it. And then out of the blue one day, John Helm, who was at BBC Radio 2, which was just up the road, because by then I was working at the Daily Express. Mike Dempsey had taken me on as a part-time sports reporter. And John Helm came to me and said, look, next Saturday, why don't you come with us? So where are you going? He said, Manchester City. I said, I forget who they were playing. I think it was Crystal Palace, Southampton, one of them. He said, would you be interested in doing the summariser's job? And I said, yeah. And the rest is sort of history. As soon as I sat down, I felt totally relaxed and comfortable. And I've never been on edge all the time I've been on broadcasting. Even when we've had, you know, some very difficult moments. Everybody thinks that we sit down and you switch on and there we go, here we go, and we're over there, sit down, have a cup of tea at half time and go. No, it doesn't work like that.
You tell them, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, we've had scenarios where, I mean, so there's 2 or 3 I always remember. Somebody asked me what's the most difficult summarising job I've ever done. It was the World Cup final in America, Italy and Brazil. Alan Green, Mike Ingham and myself. No cover in the open air. I don't know what the temperature was. It was boiling. And we were in the sun, and we can tell what it was like. They brought ice buckets for us. And we were putting them on our heads and on our necks. It was so bad you could hardly, you know. I've watched better matches in the Lancashire combination. You know, there was no flair with it. It was 0-0. It went to penalties. Italy, really, they should have won it, but they didn't. Baggio missed the penalty. I bet he's lived with that.
This could be a nightmare for Roberto Baggio now.
because if Roberto Baggio doesn't score with this penalty against Claudio Taffarel, Brazil, for the first time in nearly a quarter of a century, will be champions of the world. Roberto Baggio over the bar! Roberto Baggio puts the ball over the bar. The World Cup ends in victory for Brazil, and one of the stars of the tournament, Roberto Baggio, hangs his head, and Brazil all over the stadium. We see yellow, we see blue. Roberto Baggio has missed.
Well, that was incredible that Baggio should miss. But even the great players feel tension in a moment like this, and he put the ball way over the top. When I looked immediately at the Italian players. They just fell disconsolate to the ground.
It was so uncomfortable. The heat, unbelievable it was.
And once you'd got into broadcasting and journalism, was it a bit of a relief to be away from the pressure of day-to-day management? Was it nice to be able to have a bit more family time, and your kids are growing up and you could arrange your home time more to your needs than to a football club's needs?
Yeah, well, it's very tiring. Football managing is very tiring. I'd be quite often sat down in front of the telly here, and they'd all be watching whatever it would be, and I'd be thinking, well, I hope Eddie Gray's going to be fit this weekend, and then I can move Tony Curry to there, and yeah, you do that when you're a manager.
As a schoolboy, one day you hope you play in a cup final, or you play for your country, and that dream comes true. It makes it worthwhile. As a manager, again, it's a terrific honour to be in charge of your country's football team.
You had a big role in appointing both Terry Venables and Glenn Hoddle. How much did you enjoy being part of that FA team which appointed those managers?
Well, it wasn't a team, it was me. Because, particularly with Terry, I'd seen what had happened to the England team. I've never lost interest in that, ever. And so, consequently, I looked round and thought about it. I think, you wouldn't believe this. We went round. I remember us going to a cup tie at Grimsby. I was doing the commentary. Because I kept my radio work going all the time. We pulled the BBC van up. A few people came round when I got out. I said, are you all football supporters? Yeah. I said, what would you think about Terry Venables as England manager? To a man, they all said, oh yeah, great, up front, I said, have you had any downs on him, at all, or anything? No, he's the kind of man you need, all this sort of... And wherever we went 2 or 3, so I did it in 2 or 3 different grounds. The football supporter, you see, has an enormous part to play because they influence so many things. It's like the politics. When it comes to voting time, everybody becomes crucial. And with Venables, there was few on the FA who were not keen on him for some reason or other. And of the panel of 5, it was 3 against 1.5. And I was the one who really stuck out for him. And in fact, in 1996, we should have won it. Should have won the Europeans. That was the day when poor old Gareth Southgate missed the penalty, and I was in the stand. I had to bite my tongue then.
It goes to the sudden death, and Gareth Southgate, who has been magnificent at the heart of England's defence, now has to score a goal to keep England going in the European Championship. Here he comes. Oh, and it's been saved by Kopka. Kopka dives to his right.
We were the best team in that tournament. We should have won it, and we didn't.
Why could you not persuade the FA to give him another contract?
I forget who it was rang me up to tell me that he better come down here. Terry Venables, I spoke to him as well. I don't think they're going to keep him. Whoa, just a minute, We just lost in the semi-final, and nothing too bad, And that was the beginning of the end. There was 1 or 2 who didn't want him to start with. I must be fair, they never flinched.
Was that because of his business dealings? Was it more that?
Yeah, a bit of that as well, and I had people send me letters about him and so on, And so it was summertime, and in 2 months we were going to be playing Georgia in the World Cup. So I had to get on my bike quick. And as I kept telling the FA I was only interested in English managers for an England team, they said to me, Graham Kelly said, well, go and find us somebody else. It's all right, people say go and get Alec Ferguson. I went and had a word with Alec. And I said to him, what do you think about this? Well, he said, I'm not interested in. I said, okay. I said, if you were,
Straight out, not interested?
No, he wasn't interested.
Ever?
No, he wasn't interested, no. And Glenn was doing nothing. And of course, he'd been a manager, he'd been at Chelsea. He'd done all right. I had a long talk to him. I met him then, and I met him on a car park and told him, I'm going to recommend you have the job if you want to do it. I said to them both before they started, if there's anything untoward we should know about before we do this, we might as well get it out in the open first of all. If there is anything, the media will find it. I won't need to get Scotland Yard out. They'll find it if there's anything untoward. Comes with the job, that's part of the territory. Here. And they both told me, there's nothing to bother about. And we went on, we were doing very well, and we did well in the World Cup. We lost on a penalty shootout again to Argentina, who we should have walloped. That's life. I said, Glenn, we've had him all these things, shook hands with him. I said to him, well, we'll pick up again in August, see how we go when we go for Euros, and the rest is history.
It's 10 o'clock and this is Brian Hayes with Late Night Live. The last word on today's news and sport and the first on tomorrow's. Tonight's main news, Glenn Hoddle has been sacked as England coach and British Tornadoes have launched another raid on Iraq.
In sport, the FA sent for Sergeant Wilco to replace Hoddle and Spurs finally go one-up in the 4-match series with Wimbledon.
Later on the programme we speak to the journalist responsible for the story that led to the downfall of Glenn Hoddle. First, we have tonight's news from David McNeil.
Your final thoughts on the game that you love, where it is today, and what you would change about it if you could.
Somebody asked me about 2 weeks ago, what about, do you wish you were playing now? The pitches are better. The kit's better. The actual preparation is better. I've got to believe that. The treatment of injuries is better. The money's better. And you asked me, do you wish I was playing now? And we might look on the present day players as having frailties. I'd like to see the game toughen up a little bit. I would. All things change. One thing I've learned as I've got older is all things have changed, and invariably it's been for the better, despite what people say. And yet, I believe I might have lived at the best time.
How would you like to be remembered?
I don't know, really. Does it really matter? I've always tried to be loyal. I've never left Blackpool in that respect.
And how have you found the reaction to you from my generation downwards, who doesn't remember you playing, but always remembers you on the radio and writing the newspapers? So, we know about you from the history books, from the record books, from old films, and obviously we don't know you as the footballer. How have you found the reaction towards you from that generation downwards?
Somebody asked me once, and they said, when you see yourself now, and said, don't you wish you'd have had all the television programmes they had, when you were playing? And I thought about it for a minute. I said, I'm not so sure, really. I said, it's probably better to let them think I was a half-decent player.
spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real. Don't settle for compromise, you know how you feel. There's still spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real. You've only got one life. Open your eyes, use it up gently. We're all back to nature, sooner or later. What's the hurry? Where's the fire? Don't settle for compromise, you know how you feel. There's still spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real. Don't settle for compromise, you know how you feel. There's still spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real. Don't settle for compromise, you know how you feel. There's still spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real. Don't settle for compromise, you know how you feel. There's still spirit in your eyes, you know that it's real.
We're still able to offer interviews via Skype or any other video calling platforms that you try and use. We will try and accommodate you. If that is something that interests you, then please get in touch with us here at info@Reprieve Media CIC .epizy.com. We'll give you that address once more. It's info@Reprieve Media CIC.epizy.com.
If you've ever had to get out of your car at the side of a motorway, you'll know how scary it is. Just imagine what it's like to be a road worker on a motorway. So please drive carefully through roadworks, observe all signs and speed limits, stay in the correct lane and keep a safe distance from the car in front. Our road workers are making the roads safe for all of us, so please keep the roads safe for them.
If you're a logo designer, if you'd like to get some web presence with any of your designs, unfortunately we've got no budget whatsoever, so this will be only on a strictly voluntary basis. Just design us a logo, design Reprieve Media CIC a logo, and we will use it on all three of our sites. just to get your name out there. You can copyright your logo. We're not looking to take your logo off you or say that we did it or anything. We will promote you through your logo on our website. People will know it's you. People will click on it and it will say it's you. Give you an article to promote yourself, things like that. So any prospective logo designer, get in touch at info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. Hello and welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC's coverage of World Radio Day 2018. What we've got coming up for you now is we've managed to find an interview carried out by UNESCO, so we thank them for that, with their guest from Pakistan. She is sports broadcaster Fazeela Saba. It's just a short interview really on her experiences in broadcasting as a woman in a field dominated by men. I mean, that might be the case in Pakistan. We don't see, me myself personally, I don't see any evidence of that here. I watch a lot of radio and sports broadcasting, and there's women in most parts of it now on the field. They're broadcasting they're the anchors of the shows, you know, they're the presenters of the TV coverage, radio anchors. So that's up to the UN what agendas they want to push, isn't it? In the meantime, this is an interview, it's an interesting interview, carried out with Fazeela Saba. She works for PTV Sports. I think that's probably a public broadcaster, so it might be BBC equivalent in Pakistan. And she also works the radio station Suno FM.
How much is consumption of sports through radio in Pakistan, Fazeela?
Unfortunately, Aditi, it is very little compared to other countries, what I have heard in England or in India for that matter. Comparatively, Pakistan has very few radio channels working for sports or dedicated to sports, and we have small segments based on sports. We do not have programs, or we do not encourage sports anchors to do their own programs for sports, or we don't have specific hours for it. I'm extremely lucky that I have got this opportunity by Suno FM, that I can run a 2-hour program, and that is also a weekly program for sports. So we have very little radio sports activities in Pakistan, which I think should be encouraged more. People do want to learn about it. People do want to listen about it. So I'm very disappointed with that.
As you are saying, Fazeela, that there's not much coverage for sports in general, how much is the coverage for women's sports then?
We have covered in my past 7 years. In Pakistan, only one sport is being broadcasted, and that is women's cricket. And that too for a very short time. There is one championship that we cover, and that is a 10-day based championship. We do not have hockey broadcasting, we do not have tennis, we do not have football, we do not have basketball or other championships. Women are there in different sports, they do play, but as far as broadcasting is concerned, it is very disappointing. And even women cricketers in Pakistan do complain that people do not know us, they do not recognize us. And if you have a male celebrity or a male cricketer, they do say hi, hello, and he's a superstar. I mean, there is a player who has played 100 one-day internationals, but people do not recognize her because we do not have broadcasting of female sports. So this is very disappointing. This is very discouraging. And let me tell you one thing. Our women cricketers do not have as much medals or as much awards as the women in other sports in Pakistan. Like we have South Asian Games gold medalist. We have Mount Everest, a girl who has been to Mount Everest. We have tennis champions. We have a swimmer called Kiran Khan. So we have a lot of girls who are in other sports, but they do not being broadcasted, which is why nobody recognizes them. And it's very surprising, and it is very disappointing for girls, trust me.
Why there is such, or should I say there is just no coverage for women's sports?
Since I'm part of the National State Broadcaster Channel, and I have discussed once with my CEO about this issue, why do not we encourage women's sports athletes and why do not we broadcast their matches? If you compare it with women's match, either international or domestic, it is a huge difference in terms of revenues. So we are here to make money. So we cannot spend on something which won't earn us anything in return. So, see, there are many issues for broadcasters.
Coming back to you as a sports broadcaster, how was your experience?
Initially, when I started off, there were many male, like my male anchors, so who used to discourage me initially, and they say, "Okay, she's a female. What does she have to do with sports?" So I used to not take them seriously, but when I started off and when I did more research and when I studied sports, and then when I represented it in the mainstream field with a lot many men. So a few of them have appreciated me, honestly. Some said, "Okay, you are an inspiration for women to be in sports, and you are an ideal for other girls." But some criticism, yes, do come my way, and they say girls have to, like, girls are supposed to take care of their houses, or girls are supposed to make rotis in Pakistan. What are girls doing at sport on screen? This is one thing. And secondly, there's one criticism that, oh, she is there just because she has a good face or she's pretty, which is why she's there. What does she know about sports? So no matter how much you speak, no matter how much you analyze, no matter how much you have the ground realities of the facts in your programs and stuff, you even then you get criticized because you're a female. And what I get appreciated the most on tweets and everything, you were looking so good on your show. Nobody says you spoke so well. Nobody says that you have come up with a good question. You have come with the right facts. We really appreciate your research. Everybody says, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so gorgeous." That's it. Have you heard that incident, Chris Gayle during Big Bash League? And then Chris Gayle had to be out of that league in Big Bash because he said, "Don't blush, baby," during that interview. So it was kind of a harassment, which all of us take very serious and very personal to ourselves. We see these kind of incidents do occur when we go and cover these mainstream matches. So a lot of sports athletes, they do come, the male athletes, they do come and they ask for your phone numbers and they try to get, a bit friendly and stuff, a bit flirtatious. I think it's happening worldwide. The first time, this is my experience, the first time I visited this journalist's room, the media box, and they were all males and I was the only female. So I, for no reason, started getting those negative vibes. And the acceptability is a problem. Like for me, it took me a lot of time to get myself accepted or to be recognized as a mainstream sports broadcaster being a female.
Okay. What do you think of traditional sports coverage in Pakistan and how can it be improved?
Our media is pretty much cricket freak. Because if you cover cricket, so you get recognized as a sports journalist. But if you do cover any other sport, there is a very little column in a newspaper for you to fill. Or if you talk about on-air segments, so you do not have other sports.
Before I let you go, your message for the World Radio Day 2018.
I'm very happy that you have highlighted this issue, and I've been dying to talk about this issue in Pakistan also, that you should give women respect in sports. If they do want to come and cover sports, you should encourage them all around the world. So I think women need to be encouraged in sports, and I think women should be given room to prove themselves in sports.
As a player and the broadcaster as well, right?
As a player and as a broadcaster.
Excellent interview carried out there by UNESCO. Thank you very much for that with Fazeela Saba. Before we get more cracking with some more source content here at Reprieve Media CIC, we're going to have a quick musical interlude. Thank you very much for listening and all the best. one thing we are looking to do, you may have heard the audio book we played last week or so, Francis Bacon's New Atlantis. We got to thinking, we must have hundreds of books that we would like to get people to read for us and play them out live on air. They're of a variety of topics. So if you feel that you would benefit, maybe you're an actor or something, I don't know, you like to just read scripts and practice a bit of reading, audio reading, then get in touch with us here at Reprieve Media CIC, and we will give you a book to read for us, and you can read it and send us the electronic copy, and we will play it live on air. We will give you full credit for the reading. We'll give you maybe an interview or an article if you might be running a community play group or something, a voluntary organisation that we can promote as well. So get in touch with us if you would like to read a book for Reprieve Media CIC, and we will play it live on air. Get in touch at the usual place. It's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. That's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy. That's EPIZY.com. And we'll send you a book and we'll take it from there.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
If you want to really listen to what we're saying or read what we're saying when we're not on air, then the place to do that really is the news outlet. It's called Essential Reading online, and I will give you the website for that now. It is www.essentialreading.freecluster.eu. That's essentialreading.freecluster, FREE cluster, CLUSTER.EU. So why not go and check that out? So give that address one more time: info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com, and we will hopefully be able to, well, we will certainly be able to facilitate that as well. Hello, good afternoon everybody, and welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC's coverage of World Radio Day 2018, Radio and Sport. Well, what we initially tried to do is we were going to hopefully have some interviews with some organisations around Peterborough that are using sport as a way to improve people's lives and the communities that they live in. But unfortunately, the organisation Inspire Peterborough, who seem to have been placed themselves, would probably be more accurate, at the heart of all this here in Peterborough. Unfortunately, they were unavailable for any interviews. Everyone we asked about it, they said, oh, we just go to Inspire Peterborough, they take care of it all. So what we can do instead is we can take a quick look at Inspire Peterborough, And then what I will do is I will tell you about an upcoming event in Peterborough on the 24th of February called Sporting Saturday. And we'll also have a quick look at some of the organisations under the Inspire Peterborough banner. They're listed on the Inspire Peterborough website. Feel free to check the Inspire Peterborough website out. It's inspirepeterborough.com. You'll find all this information here at your own time. But before we do that, here is just one of the ways that you can get involved with Reprieve Media CIC. One thing we are looking to do, you may have heard the audio book we played last week or so, Francis Bacon's New Atlantis. We got to thinking, we must have hundreds of books that we would like to get people to read for us and play them out live on air. They're of a variety of topics. So, if you feel that you would benefit, maybe you're an actor or something, I don't know, you like to just read scripts and practice a bit of reading, audio reading, then get in touch with us here at Reprieve Media CIC. And we will give you a book to read for us, and you can read it and send us the electronic copy, and we will play it live on air. We will give you full credit for the reading. We'll give you maybe an interview or an article if you might be running a community play group or something, a voluntary organisation that we can promote as well. So get in touch with us if you would like to read a book for Reprieve Media CIC, and we will play it live on air. Get in touch at the usual place. It's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. That's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy. That's EPIZY.com. And we'll send you a book and we'll take it from there. Hello, welcome back. So quickly, before we look at the event Sporting Saturday and some of the organisations under the Inspire Peterborough banner, I'm in a position here to just tell you something about the Inspire Peterborough organisation. This is from their own website, inspirepeterborough.com. So what do they say about themselves? Inspire Peterborough is a project of Disability Peterborough, a local registered disability charity. Inspire Peterborough promotes sport and leisure activities, as well as promoting health and well-being initiatives and support for disabled people and their family members and carers. Fantastic. Building upon the legacy of London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games, they will support and inspire all disabled people in Peterborough to have better life outcomes through participating in sport, leisure activities and volunteering. What will Inspire Peterborough aim to be? They will be the first point of contact for anyone interested in disability sports or leisure activities. The way to do that really, I would say, is just to give their team a ring. They have a team, Nikki Griffiths, the development manager, and Brian Tyler, the project manager. The best way to really get in touch with them, I suppose that I would know, is just I'm looking at the website now, and there's a contact us form on the website. I used it myself, so that's just on the contact us section of the Inspire Peterborough website, inspirepeterborough.com. There will also be a signpost to opportunities, advice and information, and they're a provider of a service for anyone who is interested in volunteering. So plenty of opportunities there and ways to get involved. What will Inspire do? They will bring together local sports providers and venues under a unified brand. They will support clubs to develop pathways to success. They will bid for funding, increase capacity and improve facilities. They will also provide opportunities for those wishing to improve their physical and mental health and well-being. They will provide volunteering opportunities also for able-bodied and disabled people. And they will also encourage and enable competitive sporting opportunities locally and throughout the region. So, great work being done there in the community of Peterborough by this organisation, Inspire Peterborough. Before we take a quick look at the event, Sporting Saturday, here is another way you can get involved with us yourself at Reprieve Media CIC. If you want to really listen to what we're saying or read what we're saying when we're not on air, then the place to do that really is the news outlet. It's called Essential Reading online, and I will give you the website for that now. It is www.essentialreading.freecluster.eu. That's essentialreading.freecluster, FREE cluster, CLUSTER.EU. So why not go and check that out?
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms.
So, like we said, one way Inspire Peterborough are going to really raise awareness of themselves and really hammer home the fact that disability is no barrier where sport is concerned is their 5th annual Sporting Saturday. This is taking place at the Cresset in Peterborough, Breton Centre, Peterborough, on Saturday the 24th. It's taking place in conjunction with Peterborough Disability, the Mobility Aid Centre, Inspire Peterborough, Amelie Fitness, Oak Activities and friends as well. And that's going to be the biggest disability event that Peterborough has ever seen. It's 100% free as well, which I think is a fantastic achievement, really, in this modern age, to not even wish to cover their costs of the day. So brilliant, and all credit to them for that. So there's plenty of reasons to go as well. You can meet the Mayor. Plenty of disability advice will be on offer on the day. There's also a chance to win Olympic-style medals as well. And try many sports activities that will be there as well at the day. Also, they're holding a raffle on the day. Plenty of prizes as well, and we have a list of these prizes coming up shortly. Before we get to them, the date, as we have already said, is the 24th of February 2018, and the time is 11 AM till 4 PM. You can book tickets for free here, but unfortunately it's a website, so I will give you the website. It is bookwen.com. I will say that bookwen is book, B-O-O-K, when, WHEN.com/Sporting Saturday. All one word. Anybody can come. It's an all-inclusive event. And what's more, they're not getting ahead of themselves, but they have already secured a date for next year as well. But let's get this year's out of the way first. The Olympic-style bingo event with sports and activities will secure a medal to take home with you after a day. And also media goodies will be available via On Track magazine. They will have several hundred copies available to take for free. I'm assuming that is one per person. Will there be prizes and goodies? Of course there will. the raffle, some good prizes here. A signed and autographed, doesn't say by who, Premier League Manchester United jersey, kit and shirt. That'll be popular in Peterborough. Well, it'll be popular all around the world, to be fair. A £250 Serpentine Green voucher. These vouchers can be spent where and how you wish, as long as it's in the shopping centre at Hampton. Brand new bike as well. It's an Upland mountain bike. Very nice. Pictures of it are available on the Inspire Peterborough website, inspirepeterborough.com. But also other prizes are there as well. A signed and framed Peterborough United shirt. Again, it doesn't say by whom. A football signed by Peterborough United Football Club. 2 tickets to any Peterborough United match. I'm assuming that's home matches only, not sure. Family ticket for a selected Peterborough United match. I'm assuming again that is a home match. 4 tickets to the Cressets March Comedy Night with a meal in the restaurant / pub included. A family meal at Sub Express in Serpentine Green up to the value of £50. So fantastic prizes there as well. Activity, sports and games. They're laying so much on. Archery, darts, cricket, basketball, football, rowing, gym, Special Olympics, boccia, more on that later, seated exercise, sledge hockey, live sports, dance, Zumba, boxing, martial arts, the Invictus Bowman, and much, much more available on the day. VIPs and special guests booked so far are including the Mayor, Gillian Beasley, I think she works for the council, not entirely sure, she might even be the Mayor these days, Fiona Onasanya, MP for Peterborough Central, John Holditch, I think he's a councillor, not too sure, Megan Horner-Smith, Alice Mason, and others to be revealed soon. Obviously the best place to keep up with any new guests, other events around the event. They suggest you look on the Inspire Peterborough Facebook page for information in the build-up. There they will let you know of all the changes, additions and must-know news. Everybody is welcome, and the event is to showcase the wealth of inclusive and disability sport available in Peterborough for people with disabilities, their families and carers. A fantastic event there. We wish them all good luck with that. Again, the date, Saturday the 24th of February, from 11 AM till 4 PM. And the place to book for free, the tickets, is www.bookwhen.com. That's BOOKWHEN.com/Sporting Saturday. If you're struggling really to get the address of what we've given you, the best thing we can do really is direct you to the Inspire Peterborough website, inspirepeterborough.com, and there is a press release there which will include the link where you just click on the link and buy the tickets. So we look a fantastic day there. I'm sure it'll be a resounding success. Like we said, we're also going to show you quickly some of the organisations under the Inspire Peterborough banner. But before we do that, here's another chance you can get how you can get involved with Reprieve Media CIC. We're in a position now to say to anybody out there who may be listening, or anybody who knows anybody that is into this sort of thing, send us your shows. Send us a 30-minute show or a 30-minute show reel or something like that of what you propose to do. If we at Reprieve Media CIC were to give you free airtime, and we will consider it. You know, we will move forward with a view to maybe putting you on air. They can be any shows you wish to send us, talk shows, music shows, a mixture of the both, entertainment shows, sports shows, movie review shows, anything you'd like to do really. Just send us a copy of what you've done so far, or something you think shines a good light on yourself, and we will consider it and maybe book you and maybe put you on air. You can be making your own original content Unfortunately, we have no live facilities at the moment, so all you will need to have fully recorded facilities of your own, and then just send us the final copy of the show and we will play it out. Until we get a premises, we're not really in a position, well, it's not really about it, we are not in a position to offer live shows as of yet. If you'd like to send us some of your work for us to listen to and see if we can maybe get you on air sometime, then send the show to the usual place. It's info at Reprieve Media CIC .epeasy.com. That again is info at Reprieve Media CIC .epeasy EPIZY.com. 30 minutes maximum the show must be, and we will look maybe at putting you on air in the future, and you too will be able to get involved with Reprieve Media CIC. Hello, welcome back. Before we wrap up this section for World Radio Day, just looking at one of the organisations that does so much great work here in Peterborough, Inspire Peterborough. We're just going to run you through a couple of organisations that they work with. We're going to give details on a few, but there is so many on this page that it really is worth checking out yourselves. It's the Our Partners page on the Inspire Peterborough website. The address for that is inspirepeterborough.com/our-partners. There's so many. We're going to take a quick look at a few of them here. We've just picked them at random off that page. So the first one we're going to look at is English Kempo. Well, I didn't even know what that was, so that was really why I picked that one. English Kempo Karate is more than a martial art, it's martial science. Kempo Karate uses a multitude of fast strikes, such as kicks and punches, to overwhelm an attacker. It's taught by the English Kempo Karate Association, and really the ethos behind it really is to teach confidence, especially in children. At the Kempo Karate Association, they have seen many children blossom into confident, well-adjusted adults. So it sounds fantastic. They have classes running all over Peterborough, with the main sessions being held in both Paston and Welland. The events really at Paston, they're at Freston in Peterborough, on Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings at a variety of times. So it's really the best thing to do is to contact them themselves. Saturday mornings for adults and kids between 11 AM and midday. But for Wednesdays and Monday evenings, kids and adults have separate sessions. Adults can attend some sessions and not others. So that's the best place to check really, is the website, which we will give you now. The website is www.englishkenpo, that's KENPO.co.uk. It's in Alixton Gardens in Peterborough. There's an email address, is kenpoman.af@gmail.com, and the telephone number is 07955 894 344, and the contact name you want there is Andy Fitzgerald. So that's really a very good way of teaching children a bit of confidence. It helps everybody. Peterborough Sailability, obviously based at the Sailing Lake. Who'd have thought that, in Ham Lane in Neaton Park, Cambridgeshire, Ferry Meadows. Weather permitting, obviously, Peterborough Sailability hold regular sailing sessions each Tuesday and Thursday. The first sail is at 10 AM and they can continue through to 4:30. Each session lasts about 30 minutes and costs £5, which goes towards the running costs. Our sessions are open to anyone with a disability, both young and old. Most of the sailors do come from the Peterborough area, but quite a number travel from much further afield. So it's a good chance to meet new people and meet new friends. They are usually very busy, with up to 85 people sailing in one day. So really, it is essential to make a booking by telephoning Carol Goddard on 07948 262 919 well in advance, so the day that can be planned properly. They are very privileged to use Gunwade Lake at Ferry Meadows for the sailing. I'd like to thank them for that. There's kitchen and bar adjacent to the sailing lake. Something we must make you aware of is that high vehicles, where you're going on sailing boats, there might be a few issues there. Vehicles over 2.1 metres high may need to contact the park ranger to gain access to the park, and that can be done on 078 60 308 081. The best website to get further information is www.peterboroughsailability.org. So contact them to arrange information and to arrange a visit, have a look round, and if it's for you, then book them. They're superb. It looks good. I myself, as a non-swimmer, will not be partaking in that, but it could be for somebody. Phantom Sledge Hockey. Sledge hockey is one of the few all-inclusive sports, as both able-bodied and disabled players play on the same team. Fantastic. I mean, I remember it from the Olympics, I think it was, the Paralympics, and very good sport. The sport follows the same rules as ice hockey, with the only difference being the players sit in adapted sledges. And it is brutal. It is absolutely brutal, all within the rules, obviously. The key benefits: sledge hockey can help improve balance and mobility, as well as upper body and arm strength. Anybody who is able to use their upper body and arms is welcome to take part, regardless of ability. All clothing worn should be long-sleeved and long in the legs. Shoes must not have open toes. Anybody can join in, whether they have played sledge hockey or ice hockey before. You don't need any experience whatsoever. We must at this point thank the sponsors of the Phantom Sledge Hockey team, Erwin Mitchell and Inspire Peterborough. But if you're interested in partaking in sledge hockey, maybe signing up for the teams, there is a bum in bucket session Monday between 8:30 and 10 p.m. with team training on Saturday 9 and 10 p.m. Their website is the Facebook page. So the address is Planet Ice Arena, 1 Mallard Road, Peterborough, the Peterborough Ice Rink, PE3 8YN. So if you just message the Peterborough Phantom Sledge Hockey Club page, or just maybe that's how you would book have a chance with that. I would recommend that. I've watched it. It's very good. Now, we touched on this earlier. Another one I didn't really know what it was, so that's why we're going to raise awareness of it. Boccia. I'm assuming it originates in Italy with a name like that. Every Saturday between 10 a.m. and midday, Tony Barkley from the Bowls Club and Matt Taylor from Vivacity run a Boccia club at Peterborough District Bowls Club in Burton Street, Peterborough. Boccia is a form of bowls which is suitable for many people with disabilities. It is extremely enjoyable and a good social event. If you're interested in playing a bit of Boccia, the telephone number is 01733 566 709 and the email address is peterboroughbowls@btconnect.com. The address, as we said, Burton Street, Peterborough. Boccia is on, between Saturday 10 a.m. and 12 p.m, which I'm assuming is midday and not midnight. Right, amputee football. The Peterborough Amputee and Limb Deficiency team are supported by Peterborough United Foundation and are on the lookout for new players, both juniors and adults, in order to train on a weekly basis. If you are interested in more on amputee football, contact them directly via email at contact@inspirepeterborough.com. And the website again is just the Facebook page, PUFC Amputee, www.facebook.com/PUFC Amputee. Like we've said, there's so many more organisations we've not even touched on. It's really worth looking at this page. There will be something for you here. Just do not think for a second, just as we've not mentioned it, that it hasn't existed. Maybe Soon we will get someone from Inspire Peterborough to maybe run us through them all in more detail. But as it stands at the moment, we will direct you to the Inspire Peterborough website to look at their partners. The website is inspirepeterborough.com/hours-partners. So our partners on the inspirepeterborough.com website. I think it's the clubs and organisations banner at the top of the website as well. So that's Inspire Peterborough. Great organisation by the looks of things, doing a lot of good work in Peterborough. It's a shame they weren't available for comments with an interview. Hopefully that will change in the future. Don't forget the tickets for Peterborough Sporting Saturday on the 24th of February. Go to the Inspire Peterborough website to book them, the press release there, or go to bookwen.com/Sporting Saturday. Thank you very much for listening. And before we carry on with the Radio Day broadcasting, we're going to have a quick musical interlude. But before that, here's another way you can get involved with Reprieve Media CIC. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best. We're still able to offer interviews via Skype or any other video calling platforms that you try and use. We will try and accommodate you. If that is something that interests you, then please get in touch with us here at info@reprievemediacic.com. We'll give you that address once more. It's info@reprievemediacic.com. if you're a logo designer, if you'd like to get some web presence with any of your designs, unfortunately we've got no budget whatsoever, so this will be only on a strictly voluntary basis. Just design us a logo, design Reprieve Media CIC a logo, and we will use it on all 3 of our sites, just to get your name out there. You can copyright your logo. We're not looking to take your logo off you or say that we did it or anything. We will promote you through your logo on our website. People will know it's you. People will click on it and it will say it's you, give you an article to promote yourself, things like that. So any prospective logo designer, get in touch at info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com.
How does it feel when you stop smoking?
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I feel like I've got my life back.
I was so proud of myself.
I feel a lot richer.
It feels good.
I just feel fitter and healthier.
I felt much happier.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. With the help of NHS Smoke Free, you could experience that feeling for yourself. Our range of support tools, which includes face-to-face guidance from advisors, helps maximise your chances of success. Go online now and search for Smoke Free.
One thing we are looking to do, you may have heard the audio book we played last week or so, Francis Bacon's New Atlantis. We got to thinking, we must have hundreds of books that we would like to get people to read for us and play them out live on air. They're of a variety of topics. So, if you feel that you would benefit, maybe you're an actor or something, I don't know, you like to just read scripts and practice a bit of reading, audio reading, then get in touch with us here at Reprieve Media CIC, and we will give you a book to read for us, and you can read it and send us the electronic copy, and we will play it live on air. We will give you full credit for the reading. We'll give you maybe an interview or an article if you might be running a community play group or something, a voluntary organisation that we can promote as well. So get in touch with us if you would like to read a book for Reprieve Media CIC, and we will play it live on air. Get in touch at the usual place. It's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy.com. That's info@reprievemediacic.epeasy. That's EPIZY.com. And we'll send you a book and we'll take it from there. Hello, welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC's coverage on World Radio Day. What we've got coming up for you now is some of our source content. You may have heard it already played out before, really since we started broadcasting. It's a reasonably old documentary. It was produced by the BBC Asian Network called Bales, Beards and Boundaries. It focuses on the 3 Asian cricketers who toured India and Bangladesh with the England Test cricket team, Moeen Ali, Adil Rashid and Zafar Ansari. And it just gets their stories really, how they got involved in cricket and how they see the game progressing forward and what's happened to them since the tour really. It was filmed just before England left for Australia for the tour that's currently taking place. So, without further ado, this is Bales, Beards and Boundaries from the BBC Asian Network. Thank you very much for listening, and all the best.
With sport, you can change so many people's lives. People's thinking, and it can break barriers. I think it's a great way of doing it.
Like many aspiring young cricketers, I wanted to play here at the home of cricket and represent my country. I visualise hitting sixes into the crowd and taking wickets in front of thousands of fans. But only handfuls earn that privilege. Even fewer come from the British Asian community. Moeen Ali, the poster boy of English cricket, is set to be a key figure for England in the Ashes tour taking place in Australia. Last year, he and 3 fellow British Muslims made history when they stepped up to play for the national test side. So was this a watershed moment in English cricket? Many British Asians play the sport in this country, but very few play professionally.
You are good enough, regardless of what race and what colour, you'll get your opportunity.
Within that community, if I can inspire as many people to take up the game, that's great as well.
All age cricketers of an Asian background in the England team is a huge thing. Whether that necessarily filters through the system is another question.
It's not about what colour, where you're from, or anything like that. It's about if you score your runs and do your work to the best of your ability, then you've got a great chance.
I'm going back to where it all started to find out how they reached the top and the challenges they faced along the way. I'm Ankar Desai, and this is England's Muslim cricket stars. My first port of call is Birmingham, the home of Moeen Ali. Coming from a Pakistani background, he grew up in the working class area of Spark Hill and decided from an early age that cricket would be his passport to a better life. Okay, Mo, let's first of all talk about familiar surroundings. What's it like being back here, first of all, in this science lab, walking the corridors around here? What are the memories that strike you, first of all?
First of all, it's obviously great to be back. It brings back a lot of memories. I had good friends here. Surroundings were very similar. Probably the best days of my life.
When at school they'd say to you, what do you want to be when you're older, etc., etc., would you always write down cricketer or professional sportsman?
Yeah, it was always going to be cricketer. Probably didn't realise I was going to play this much for England, but I just knew cricket was the one. When I was in school here, my dad said from 13 to 15 he told me for 2 years, give me 2 years every day after school.
That's unusual because a lot of South Asian parents would be like, no, focus on your studies.
My biggest advice would be for the parents. With my father, this is what he did, and then he said after 15, then do what you want, knowing that if I work hard at that age, that I will.
The hard yards and sacrifices paid off handsomely this summer. Moeen became the first player ever to score more than 250 runs and take 25 wickets in a 4-match test series. One of the perks is now being able to drive to games in luxury cars, but when he was starting out, it was touch and go as to whether he'd even make it to the match at all.
Against Middlesex for Worcester, actually, so we're going to Worcester. We had patches on the car. You can literally see bits of the road from under, and we had to stop every 10 minutes for 20 minutes because the car was overheating, so we had to wait another 20 minutes to calm down and then drive another 10 minutes. So we had that sort of struggle. We were financially nowhere. We had a game, 3 of us. We had £1 left after petrol's been paid, and we had to buy a loaf of bread. And there are tough times, but when you know the work that they've put in you, you sort of work even harder for them as well as yourself, and that really drives you when you look at their struggle for you, and it drives you, and I think it spurs you on to really want to do it for yourself and obviously for them.
Making it as a cricketer at any cost is something which Moeen's England teammate, close friend and fellow Muslim Adil Rashid relates to. I'm travelling to Bradford to first meet him at his local cricket nets where he trains when he's back home. The landscape in Bradford has evolved over the years. Mosques now complement churches to reflect the changing face of the city, with many British Asians moving here during the 60s and 70s.
There's a big Asian community here. Asians everywhere, restaurants everywhere, everybody knows everybody around here and stuff, so that's the good thing.
The Yorkshire leg spinner has established himself in the England setup with some match-winning performances in recent years. What was it about your family, your upbringing, that allowed you to have the environment to thrive and to pursue a career? Did they ever say to you, no, don't play cricket, it's never going to be a career?
Nah, so mine was the opposite. My dad, he really encouraged me to play sport. So dad put cricket bat in my hand. From there you just go with the flow, and then you just pick it, we start loving the game and you start enjoying it, and that's exactly what happened. And from there, you start taking it serious.
Well, some people will think about that.
That actually did not cross my mind, or if I don't do this, what am I going to do? So that I was just going to do it. I remember my dad used to take me to games. He used to go taxis late nights, come back 6, 7 in the morning. But then I had a game 9:30, 2-3 hours away, so he had to stay awake, take me to the game for 2-3 hours, stay with me the whole game, come back, go back to sleep, go taxis, because he used to work hard back then as well, because it was hard times for them when they first came over. So he sacrificed all his life, basically for my cricket. So all his time was purely just for my cricket, and thank you for him, and thank God that I'm in the position.
Despite his success, Adil never forgot his Yorkshire roots, starting an academy to help more Asian kids play professionally.
So that's a way of people coming there and getting through that way. So that's another way through the system, is through my academy to Yorkshire age groups or whatever. So that's why I put that there, so people can come and actually think, yes, we have that opportunity now to go to the next level.
I'm on my way up to Bolton to meet England's youngest ever Test opener. While most 19-year-olds are at uni studying and playing video games with friends, Haseeb Hameed was making his international debut against India in his father's home state. And he still has fond memories of meeting a couple of his childhood heroes during that historic series last year. Tendulkar and Kohli, you met them in the last year. Just tell me what that was like and what you took from those meetings.
Sachin Tendulkar spoke about continuing to have that passion for the game. A lot of people can lose that because of the intensity of international cricket. You forget why, the old adage of remember why you started playing the game and things like that, and he was actually quite big on that. Similarly, he also said be true to yourself and make sure you remember what has got you here.
Did that give you that extra little fillip, that extra little bit of even that tiny 5-10%? Did that give you something? Just
Absolutely.
Being in
The moment I stepped into his house, I got an extra 50%. It's an unbelievable honour. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me, but it was an unbelievable honour. Something that I could only have dreamt of, I'd say, and to have actually been there and done that is quite amazing. Yeah, still have to pinch myself at times, but it just goes to show what sort of people they both are. They've inspired me a lot, and they still continue to inspire me. And hopefully, if I can be like that for someone in the future generation, then that would be, an extremely proud moment for me.
For a young cricketer at the start of his career, Haseeb thrived being around his peers during his debut.
When I played in a team with Moeen, Adil and Zafar in my debut game, that was exactly the sort of thing that I guess opens people's eyes to what can be achieved. I think that's one of the proud moments that I was able to experience in that game.
For someone full of passion for their sport to another who seemingly lost his, meet Zafar Ansari. He made his debut last winter in Bangladesh and India, but upon his return made the surprise decision to retire from the sport at the age of just 25. He's now pursuing a legal career and working with the charity Just for Kids Law in London. Was it an emotional decision when you finally decided to quit the game?
It was really emotional. I was like, when you get that choking feeling when you're trying to hold back the tears, and I sat in front of the team and I explained my decision, and a lot of them probably knew it was coming or had that feeling that something was on the horizon. But I think just to explain it directly to them and to look into people's eyes and say to them, I don't want to do this anymore, despite being very grateful and having loved it, was a really hard thing. I realised that cricket needed to become my life, and I wasn't really willing or probably ready to devote myself to it in that way.
Zafar had toyed with the idea of quitting cricket for some time, and the penny possibly dropped during that test match last year in Rajkot, when he was without his phone and couldn't follow the US election results. Instead of enjoying the cricket in front of him, his mind was elsewhere.
On the day that Donald Trump was elected, we had no access to the world, really. We were focused on watching Moeen Ali and Joe Root score hundreds. So it was nice to watch them bat. But equally, I think having that story and that event taking place while we were out there, for me was really important because it did give me a kind of an outlet. It was a weird day, and the only people who were allowed their phones are the security people. There were little snippets of information. Florida's gone this way, Pennsylvania's gone this way, and you started to gather a picture, but it was really only when kind of the last ball was bowled and the kind of luggage case came out with our phones that we were able to look and see the kind of what had unfolded.
He also comes from a different background to the others, something he's very aware of. His father is Pakistani, his mother white. They're both academics, and Zafar is a double first graduate from Cambridge University. But spending time on the road with the other three players helped give him another perspective.
Did you guys have discussions about your upbringing, your backgrounds, your cultures and things like that?
Massively, and I learned a huge amount spending kind of 3 months with the other three guys, and it was a really nice opportunity to spend time with three other, young British Muslims, young British Asians who had very different backgrounds, and I definitely gained a huge amount from that. At the same time, that was only a small part of our relationship. We were friends, because we were friends. It certainly wasn't the defining aspect of our friendship.
Having 4 strong examples from the British Asian diaspora is something which the England and Wales Cricket Board realise they need to capitalise on further if they're going to tap into the best talent in the country. Their research has found that almost 40% of recreational cricket is played by South Asians, but that number shrinks to only 4% who end up making it as professionals, and that's just at county level. Cricket charity Chance to Shine are hoping to reach out to diverse communities and bring about better representation in the national game. I'm going along to a street cricket session in North London, which is trying to take the sport to thousands more young people in inner city areas and communities affected by youth crime and antisocial behaviour.
I mean, there's fanatic followership of cricket in South Asia, so therefore to use cricket and to engage with communities at a local level in ways such as this is very valuable to us, and we think gives a lot of value to the people involved and to the communities that we touch through it.
As a group, these 4 young players have become poster boys for British Asians in the country, with Moeen very much seen as one of the key faces of the Muslim community, and he feels he has a duty to help others to understand both his religion and culture better.
There's so much negativity about it in people's minds with the media, etc. And for me, as a Muslim, to be playing, I'm hoping that people look at it and think, actually, Muslims are not bad people. And even with my teammates, I'm sure and I hope that they think, Muslims are good people to be around. And there's, there's obviously a minority of people who do commit bad things, but that's in all walks of life, I guess. And I'm hoping that I can inspire other people of all different faiths to not be afraid of practicing whatever they want to practice, and still be a player, a cricket player or a sports player, whatever it is you want to be. And that is essentially my main sort of aim, really.
Adil's now taking me around his local area. Like Moeen, his faith plays a huge role in both his personal and professional life.
Yeah, this mosque is fairly new actually. Yeah, so we're going through Great Horton here. So we're heading towards now the university, the college area. Yeah, there's a few restaurants there that I go to regularly, the Shimras and stuff, and there's a few restaurants.
You talk about your faith with Mo quite a lot, with Moeen?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Mo, we've been talking about that quite a lot.
Yeah. What sort of conversations do you have?
Just general talks, and first, pray, and we used to talk about the history of, the religion, back in the days to now, and what we need to do, what we must do, what we have to do. So that with me and Mo, we're always constantly, always on top of each other in that sense, and which helps massively as well. Because even when we go to Australia or wherever, when we do get into an environment where things are, testing, challenging for us, we got to make sure we keep reminding each other, of what our limits are and whatever it is. As I said in the media, where Islam says this about our religion, the headlines comes something to do with Muslim. You can feel a bit isolated. You can feel a bit. You got to actually explain to the people what Islam is, what being a Muslim and what Muslim is.
There was a really pertinent moment I noticed in the sunlight. So, you guys won a series, the lads are all celebrating, spraying champagne around, and you and Mo are a fair distance away, and it's quite an interesting photograph with you guys away from, the alcohol. I thought that was a really interesting but quite poignant moment.
Yeah, we've come across that quite a lot, running the series since 2015. So we've always had that in mindset, okay, every time we go on, okay, we'll do whatever, shake hands, collect the trophies, but as soon as we get the champagne, whatever, you'll just jump off the back.
Even though they're professional cricketers playing on the world's biggest stage, they're also affected by many of the same issues which impact the lives of other Muslims in the country. Are you aware of Islamophobia growing up in the north and not being far from Manchester, where the arena attack took place?
You get people that understand, that realise that maybe it's a small minority who are doing things that are against the religion, and maybe using the religion as a tool to justify their actions, which is totally wrong. But similarly, you get other people who don't maybe understand as much, and again, for us, it's important to try and portray that Muslims aren't like that. They're not taught to be like that. Again, the attack that you mentioned was so close to home. Maybe what people don't realise, or some people may not realise, is it affects British Muslims as well. I mean, my sister, and where she works, was, within a stone throw's distance away from where the attack took place. I remember the next day she was actually held back at work. I mean, the whole centre was on lockdown, I think, because of fears, and you're kind of ringing her from home, hoping she's okay. And I hope people realise that what people like that are doing is completely against the religion that I believe in, and it's all about us standing together, making sure that this country moves forward in the right way, and we all unite together to fight against people like that.
Back in London, despite now being retired from cricket, Zafar's been thinking further about how spending time on the road with Moin, Adil and Hasib illustrated the diversity of Muslims in the UK.
Playing as a group of 4 British Asians, British Muslims in the England team was something that we were all incredibly aware of and very proud of, and I think that was something that really brought us together. I think at the same time, understanding that there was a huge amount that differentiated us as a group of 4, and one of those things being that I had come from a very different background, and that complexity within the group was also important to us, that we were different, we are different sorts of Muslims, and and I think that kind of recognising that was an important thing within the group, and hopefully outside of it. And the fact that Moin, Adil, Hasib are all role models and present themselves so well is something that matters a lot. On the other hand, I think it's difficult because when someone becomes or is treated as a representative, it sort of boxes them in at times, and there is so much more to Moin and to Adil and to all of them than their ethnicity or their religion. That there's kind of there's a slight tension in that, and I think that they have not coped with it, but they deal with it incredibly well, and they acknowledge how significant what they do is. But at the same time, I think there's it's slightly problematic at times because it becomes more about their identity than about the complexity of who they are as people.
The question of whether we'll see more follow in the footsteps of these 4 young British Asian men continues to play on my mind. Having visible role models are crucial in influencing the next generation of budding cricketers, but much of this responsibility is heaped on the shoulders of Moin.
I always came across a lot of South Asian guys of my age or just above me and who were playing county at the time, and they would say, oh no, we have to give it up because we want to go into education. And for me it was a cop-out. That's not the reason why you didn't make it, it's because you gave up. And I think that sometimes we do that quicker than everybody else as South Asians. We give up on things and we don't, sometimes you got to go through that hard bit or the graft. We don't like putting in, not everybody, but I'm just talking from what I've experienced, and I've always felt if I work harder than everybody else and score more runs than everybody else, take more wickets, then they have to pick you at some stage.
Though Moin's currently at the peak of his powers, being the face of British Asians in cricket is something Hasib could inherit. But is that something he's comfortable with?
I think it's good now that we've had someone like Moin Ali, Adil Rashid, those guys. That's one of the main things. Having a role model now at the highest level is going to be massive. One of the most pleasing things for me has been when a few parents have come to me and said, actually, having seen you play, we believe our son or our daughter can go on to play international cricket for England, and that makes you extremely happy, because that's one of the main things, you know, that you want to try and do as well. You want to inspire the next generation, and coming from a South Asian background, within that community, if I can inspire as many people to take up the game, that's great as well. So, you know, the more people like myself and Mo and Ali can kind of set an example, that would be good for, you know, future players coming through, I hope.
After leaving his old school, Moeen took me back to his old cricket club, the place where he first started to make a name for himself.
It's a pre-beard. I remember this game as well, but yeah, no, it's my Warwickshire days, and it's exactly how I used to play. It's literally that shot would sum up my sort of way of batting.
Are there any misconceptions people might have about you?
I think people think I'm a serious guy a lot of the time, or a very religious guy, and obviously we all have our abilities and we try our best and do our prayers and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not as serious as probably what people think. I like to have a laugh and joke, especially around my teammates, but I've got to be comfortable around the environment and stuff first. Well, so I don't know if there whatever else there is, but
with the platform you now possess and the profile you possess, do you think that you want to use that in a different environment? Would you like to do something on a more expansive basis? Have you ever thought about it? Or is there anything which like makes you think, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that, whether it's humanitarian work or...
Yeah, I mean, there's always charity work, all that kind of stuff, but I would still take cleaning toilets in a mosque and having my own chip shop or something like that, you know.
What do you call it?
Big Mouth.
During this journey, we've heard unique thoughts from a group of unique young men. Rarely do we hear such insight into faith and identity from international sports stars, as well as their views on how the prospects for future generations...
The headlines come with something to do with Muslims. You know, you can feel a bit isolated, you can feel a bit... You've got to actually explain to the people what Islam is.
There's so much talent out there, and we've all seen it, we all talk about it, but we need to tap into it.
And you probably don't necessarily see the trickle down from having those 3 or 4 guys at the top.
It's possibly too soon to know whether 4 British Muslims playing for the England cricket team is a watershed moment or not. On the eve of the Ashes, one has retired, one is injured, while another's not currently being selected for the Test side, leaving Mo and Ali as the sole representative.
It's slightly problematic at times because it becomes more about their identity than about, you know, the complexity of who they are as people.
As to whether we'll ever see nearly half the England team come from a Muslim background again depends much on the legacy left behind by this group of players.
Hello and welcome back to Reprieve Media CIC. That concludes our coverage dedicated to World Radio Day 2018 around radio and sport. Thank you very much to everybody for listening. Just to let you know, if you're listening to the first broadcast, it's around 3 PM British time. You'll be able to hear the broadcast again in its entirety at 6 PM British time. And if you're listening to the second one, then don't fear not, you haven't missed it. It will be uploaded in the podcast section and on the YouTube channel as and when we get a chance to. Thank you very much for listening once again, and all the best.
you.